Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, beginning from Transformers. Chapter 26. Sun Cheng came by coincidence. As soon as he walked into the open black lens bracket breeding room close black lens bracket, he immediately saw three individual and powerful Decepticon soldiers gathered together. Besides Starscream and Barricade, he knew there was an Earth Yellow stranger. Decepticon soldier. As soon as he saw him come in, Starscream stared at him with a flash of light, and after a while he turned his head and asked, "Energon is fully replenished?" "Yes, Lord Starscream," Sun Cheng respectfully replied. "I will report to you that I just received the long-distance communication from Laserbeak, and he has come to Earth." "Excellency Commander, is this Guy Frenzy of Cassette Legion?" Earth Yellow's Decepticon interrupted his report with great interest, looked down before his knees were higher than Sun Cheng. It was not difficult to hear his doubts in the buzzing sound. It seemed to be surprised how he was so weak. "Soundwave just resurrected him at Moonbase not long ago," Starscream replied in a low voice. Seeing Sun Cheng looked at the Earth Yellow Decepticon and apparently didn't recognize who he was. He also introduced, "This is Bonecrusher, you may I do and know him because he had left Cybertron before thousands of years and was always looking for Allspark." Quote, "Thanks to Excellency Commander who found me in time and added Energon to me, otherwise I might have been stasis until core was completely exhausted." Bonecrusher's tone was a little low. "It's a pity my companions, Lord Megatron ordered 7 of us to find Allspark and now I am the lucky one to survive." Quote, Sun Cheng was a little bit surprised. No wonder he just wondered that this one was at least a high-ranked Decepticon soldier guy at first glance, and some light rust appeared on the mechanical body, but Energon was seriously exhausted to the maintenance function of the mechanical body all were forced to disable, signs that only appeared in Decepticon in aging. Understood the other party was Decepticon soldier who was sent away from Cybertron a few thousand years ago, and Sun Cheng was not surprised why he took over all the memories of Frenzy and would not recognize the other party. Allspark is the supreme sacred artifact of planet Cybertron. Even Frenzy is not very clear about its origin, only knows that Allspark not only has the incredible and terrifying Energon, but it also provides robotic organisms with the ability to evolve to a higher level of life source power. Obviously, Allspark has the ability to influence planet Cybertron's sovereignty. Therefore, at the beginning of the Cybertronian Civil War that year, Decepticons and their mortal enemy, Autobot, were exhibited in fierce competition after Allspark. Finally, after a battle, Allspark was completely disappeared with a battleship that had just been launched. After that, whether it was Decepticons or their mortal enemy, Autobot, they had sent countless soldiers to every corner of the universe to search for it. Among them, the overwhelming majority of the soldiers were all left in hiding, and they did not leave. Blame Frenzy for not knowing Bonecrusher anymore. To the surprise of Sun Cheng, Starscream soon sent Bonecrusher away, reading room. After he walked away, he looked towards Sun Cheng again and asked, "Only Laserbeak will come alone?" "No surprises, it should be." Soundwave walked hurriedly when leaving Cybertron. He didn't bring anyone but Laserbeak. Starscream's red light flashed for a while before asking again, "What is the content of communication?" Sun Cheng did not hide it, and directly sent the content to Starscream completely, making him nodded with satisfaction. Starscream reads quickly, but after reading it, he frowned and said, "Don't reply to him for now, wait for my next order." "Yes." Sun Cheng complied and stood side by side without talking. Starscream looked at him and ignored him, and looked towards Barricade instead. "How is Onslaught's preparation there?" "The situation is not optimistic. Humans' defensive strength is somewhat unexpected. Onslaught has complained to me 3 times. If Lord Starscream doesn't take action in person, the chance of getting it by us is less than 3%, so he recently prepared it's very negative, and it even means leaving." Barricade replied, "I'm impossible take action." Starscream shook the head, frowning, said, "I have awakened Bonecrusher. I didn't intend to wake him up so early, but I will convince him to join you." Aircraft. The key is human aircraft. Barricade accidentally received a guarantee from Starscream. His voice was still very irritable. "We are not triple changers, except that Onslaught has the sky capability, we do not have it. There are too many human aircraft deployed there. Very unfavorable." Quote, "During this conversation, I heard Sun Cheng was unfathomable mystery. Before and after the combination, he probably figured out that something Starscream wanted was in a military base of human, where it was so well guarded that even a Decepticon soldier, Onslaught he sent early, thought that the task was difficult to complete. Hearing this, Sun Chang finally figured out why Starscream needed him. Then he took the initiative to say, "Lord Starscream, Sir Barricade, if it is a fear of human aircraft, it is better to let me dive in before the mission begins. I can paralyze the onboard electronic equipment of the aircraft, so that they cannot fly." Not that simple. Barricade turned to look at him and frowned. He looked at Starscream and saw that he had no instructions before explaining to Sun Chang, "We are not all afraid of the aircraft in the human base that is about to invade. There are me, Onslaught and the Bonecrusher 3 teamed up and should be able to destroy them in the shortest time. But there is another base near it. Once they fight, the other party may send an aircraft to arrive in up to 10 minutes, which is very unfavorable for our actions." Quote. Then why not dividing soldiers? Sun Chang was stunned for a while. It was as simple as this, which actually made these Decepticons tangled. Dividing soldier. Barricade froze for a moment, then shook his head again. After the dividing soldier, it is difficult for us to destroy that base in the shortest time. Perhaps as by his indecisive look aroused curiosity, Starscream also looked towards Sun Chang, and the red light in his eyes was thicker. "Do you have a solution? Say it and listen." "Yes, Lord Starscream." Sun Chang waited for this sentence, so as soon as he heard Starscream speaking, he immediately explained, "My plan is still dividing soldier, sending Sir Barricade and one of Sir Bonecrusher to another base for containment. All he needs to do is make a big fuss, destroy all the aircraft at that base in the shortest possible time, destroy its support capabilities and attract all possible assistance from other bases nearby, and then leave after completing the involvement." Quote. "As for the other side, I will sneak into the base first, strive to immediately paralyze the communication equipment and electronic equipment of the base after the start of the operation, and help Sir Onslaught to destroy as much airpower as possible. In this way, I want to use our configuration, it should not be difficult to complete the task." Quote. Barricade fine taste, not eyes shined, nodded quickly echoed, "This plan is feasible, more reliable than Onslaught's plan." "Yes, Barricade, you first contact Onslaught to tell him the plan and wait until evening to send Frenzy to that cemetery." Even Starscream couldn't help but look at him for a while before his smile finally appeared on his face. "Little brat, my previous promise is still valid. Help me get that kind of thing, and I will reward you with a piece of spark. Doing things for me seriously, it won't take long, and the familiar, Frenzy, will come back." Quote. Starscream seems to be satisfied with his initiative to make suggestions for himself. Anyway, when he came out of breeding room, Sun Chang already felt the friendly attitude of Barricade. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that this is just a change made by 2 wily old fox guys. On the other hand, the discovery on the other hand made Sun Chang feel happy. "I said Decepticon, this robotic organisms, how could perfect and without blemish evolved? Sure enough it is flawed." Although he has encountered a lot of Decepticon not at all since he came to this world, Sun Chang still felt some short-term contact. Most of the Decepticons he has contacted have some problems with his head. Probably Decepticon relies too much on its own core to analyze and process, especially those with low-rank Decepticons. The ability to think on their own is very poor. Even if it is high-rank Decepticon like Barricade, it is a bit difficult to deal with, but if on insidiousness and cunning, I'm afraid it's a lot worse than human. Not to mention, from the memory data he took over, Barricade has existed for at least 1,000 years, and the civil war of planet Cybertron just ended more than 100 years ago. It can be said that such a Decepticon soldier who has fought for thousands of years should have experienced wars and various military plans and strategies throughout the night. But he is just the simplest dividing soldier, and he can't do it by reasonably using the force on his hand. It can be seen from this that Decepticon and even their mortal enemy Autobots are likely to be too focused on the improvement of personal strength, and they have gone astray on the evolutionary path. The night came faster than expected. After driving away from the Starscream base from an entrance, Sun Chang stayed quietly in the changing police car of Barricade, carefully recalling whether he had missed the task. But he didn't want to. Barricade only drove him for less than an hour, and he suddenly stopped in a desert. Arrived. Barricade quickly changed back to robot mode, throwing him out. With so many experiences, although he was beaten completely unprepared, Sun Chang quickly responded. In midair, he twisted around and landed firmly on the sand not far from Barricade. Caught electromagnetic interference. Spy template captured some annoying signals. He frowned and reminded Barricade, but saw him not at all answering himself, and it looked like who was having long-distance communication with him. Cautious Sun Cheng immediately extended his right arm forward and released several fly-sized insect scouts, ready to explore the source of electromagnetic interference. This small spy tool made by Cybertron is very efficient and fast, but the ability to resist electromagnetic waves is a bit poor. The data captured by the both electronic eyes on their heads and transmitted back to his spy template is always intermittent of. However, this does not affect Sun Cheng's judgment on the neighborhood. When an insect scout was completely disconnected from the data, it shot a human military base with a huge road far surpasses the imagination 7 kilometers away in the southeast direction. That's Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Sun Cheng was shocked. He knew this U.S. military base. In the world where Sun Cheng is located, this military base known as Aircraft Boneyard manages and saves more than 5,000 retired U.S. military fighters and is the world's most famous Air Force base. According to the military data of various countries he specifically inquired during the day to complete the mission, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base has the United States Air Force 355th Wing stationed all year round. Although the data shows that 355th Wing has not been replaced by F-22 fighter, it is still the F-15 series, MH-60 Pave Hawk helicopter, C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, A-10 Thunderbolt II Warthog and early warning aircraft, but it is definitely not a good opponent. Especially here is the United States. If there is a problem in any link, it is likely that the battle between them will be a war between Decepticons and Earth-first military power. Barricade soon ended long-distance communication and asked with interest, "What did you find?" "Sir Barricade, our mission goal is at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base." Sun Cheng asked annoyedly. The intelligence of the military bases within the United States is actually not difficult to find. It's probably the old American mentality of boss in the world. You can find a lot of detailed information by searching on the internet with Google. More than 70% may be true. From the data he queried, if Starscream really wants to start here, their task is really not difficult. At least Sun Cheng was still about 70% sure, but now it is estimated that it is only 50%. Right here, the task was about to begin, and Barricade apparently did not continue to hide his meaning, and answered him nodded quite simply, "What Lord Starscream wants is here." As soon as the words fell, Barricade suddenly raised his head and looked back at him. When Sun Cheng saw this, he had to swallow the problem that came to his mouth for a moment, wondering what Barricade was looking at. About 20 to 30 seconds later, his spy template only caught a trace of unusual fluctuations, like extreme Decepticon frequency. As onslaught coming, he realized it suddenly, at the same time heart sank. Barricade is not a spy, but as a soldier, he can capture the frequency of onslaught long before himself. Obviously, although it belongs to the same type of core, the spark equipped by high-ranked Decepticon is far more powerful than his spy template performance. 2 minutes later, with the rumbling boom of the engine, a terrible heavy truck like Terex 33-11C dump truck slowly stopped in front of two people. "Damn idiot, I told you not to be so close to humans' military base." Accompanied by a violent scream, the truck completed the transformation after 3 or 4 seconds, and turned into a hegemon soldier who was taller and half sturdy than Starscream. "Lord Starscream asked me to send him to you first." In the face of such a horrible soldier who was 1/3 higher than himself, Barricade's voice was obviously lower. "The specific task arrangement, then I will contact you again." Quote. Onslaught coldly snorted, looking at the Barricade transformed back to the police car immediately, foul-mouthed. "Human, military satellite scans here every 20 minutes, Barricade this idiot, I warned him." Unfortunately, after he scolded Barricade, he had already run away. Onslaught saw that he could only kick angrily on the sand, and the flying yellow sand would almost bury Sun Cheng. He had to brace oneself to greet this seemingly powerful high-ranked Decepticon. "Sir Onslaught, since the military satellite is about to scan here, let's change to a more hidden place first." Onslaught ignored him and did not rush to take him away. Sun Cheng saw him looking down at him with interest, and he couldn't help but feel tight, because until now, he hasn't grasped how to deal with these robotic organisms. Fortunately, Onslaught not at all remained silent for a long time. After looking at him for a while, he heard him buzzing and asked, "You are frenzy? The combat plan that Barricade passed before was your proposal?" After seeing him nodding, Onslaught seemed very happy, and even had some joy in his voice. "Not bad, all the Decepticons are a bunch of fools filled with motor oil in their heads. Who died faster? It's all fool." He grabbed Sun Chang, transformed back to heavy truck between the booms, and drove him far away, still mutter incantations in his mouth. Starscream wanted to steal nuclear weapons, but only sent a fool to help me, really annoyed me. Hey, I shouldn't have been greedy at first. I really thought that this scoundrel had the information of Allspark and I hurriedly agreed to cooperate with him. Quote. This careless sentence, but Sun Chang heart startled. This understands the cunning careerist of Starscream. He wanted to steal nuclear weapons. Onslaught Transformation's super heavy truck carried Sun Chang all the way, but it only took 4-5 minutes and he stopped again. Sitting in the driver's seat of the car, Sun Chang can clearly see that with an earth-yellow rays of light flashing, their car seems to have a layer of camouflage, completely fused together with the surrounding environment. Come again, these damn carbon-based lives. Onslaught cursed. Without his reminder, Sun Chang has also captured the optical scanning frequency from outer space. Obviously, Onslaught is a very stable person, and he continued to drive Sun Chang to the destination until he felt the optical scanning frequency disappeared, and it still took 20 to 30 seconds. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base 10 kilometers away, Sun Chang felt that the car body was suddenly losing weight. The next moment, he noticed that Onslaught entered a tunnel. This is an emergency passage that human once developed. It was probably built in the previous war period, and it has been abandoned for a long time, Onslaught explained to him. After I found it, it was modified and it can let me sneak into the base. Quote. Sun Chang nodded. He also found Onslaught's data from Frenzy's memory data. Unfortunately, the original master didn't know him very much, only know that Onslaught was once the combat staff of Decepticons. With a little perfectionism, he always likes it before the war starts. Draw up a perfect plan first. It is a pity that he encountered a group of Decepticon soldiers that will always be impossible according to his plan, so with the rise of Thrust and becoming the military strategist of Decepticons, Onslaught gradually disappeared. However, in Sun Chang's view, Onslaught should be a different kind of Decepticon. If you change to Barricade, you don't have to think about it. He will definitely just pass the direct. Seeing that Onslaught seemed to speak well, he couldn't help but have some ideas, so he tentatively asked, Sir Onslaught, does this base really store nuclear weapons? Have. Onslaught's answer was very positive. Starscream sent Camera Trio to spy on it. Although it is an aircraft boneyard, there are also facilities for storing missiles in the base. Among them are this country and other human countries signed an agreement, according to the regulations must destroy the nuclear warhead. Obviously, those cunning humans secretly saved a part of the undestroyed. Here's one of the storage bases. Quote. When it comes to nuclear warheads, Onslaught's voice is full of fear. For Decepticon, this powerful autonomous robotic organism, it is really good to threaten their existence. Compared with the mortal enemy, Autobot, the nuclear weapon invented by human on Earth may be even greater in threat. Sun Chang speechless, he understands the agreement that Onslaught said, probably should be, Reduction and Restriction of Offensive Strategic Weapons Treaty, signed by United States and Russia. Obviously Onslaught had specifically learned about this kind of information, otherwise he would definitely know that. However, it is not so easy to capture humans' nuclear weapons, Onslaught reminded him. Human is on alert for 24 hours. Not only is there a strong guard here, there is also a military base nearby that can come to support in the shortest time. The car quickly stopped in the abandoned passage. Onslaught did not continue to drive forward. Instead, it changed to robot mode in the passage. He sat on the ground and stared happily at Sun Chang and said, You know, little brat. Starscream told me that he needed nuclear weapons, but he could only send Camera Team to work with Barricade to cope with me. I struggled to formulate a plan for do it quickly. But soon, he told me Camera Team I can't come, and I want to change to Bonecrusher. Damn, he doesn't know that Bonecrusher is far less effective than Camera Trio. Quote. Sun Chang's eyes flickered, and he was actually curious why Starscream didn't want to start on his own. Otherwise, with the strength of Starscream, with the cooperation of Onslaught and Barricade, the probability of stealing nuclear weapons is undoubtedly greater. Unable to understand or dare to ask, he took the initiative to divert the topic. How many aircraft in this military base have battle-strength aircraft? He feels that Onslaught is different from other Decepticons' cautions and should be investigated. Sure enough, Sun Cheng just asked here, and the other party immediately returned. There are 117 combat aircrafts in the base that can be lifted off. There are 79 aircraft except for early warning aircraft and transport aircraft. After he finished speaking, he looked towards Sun Cheng, with a faint tone in his tone. I have seen your plan, it is very good. Even me, after learning that you will also join the task, the plan that came out is also that's it. What are you going to do next? Quote. This seems to be his examination. I don't know when Lord Starscream is going to act, but before that I hope that Sir Onslaught will allow me to sneak into the base first, and take the opportunity to investigate the situation, to ensure that after the operation starts, immediately cut off the base's external contact and cooperate with everyone to destroy part of the aircraft. Electronic equipment. Onslaught considered for a moment without agreeing or refusing. Cassette Legion should be equipped with Insect Scout. In order to prevent exposure in advance, release the Insect Scout before the action begins. Yes, Sun Cheng is also not disappointed. Frenzy carries more than 100 sets of Insect Scouts. This ultra-small spy equipment is not only easy to carry, but also highly concealed. If you want to say the shortcomings, probably the detection radius is only about 10 kilometers, and there the battery equipped inside can only last for half an hour. Onslaught quickly projected several sets of design on the ground, signaling him to get closer. Sun Cheng took a closer look, and some of them were blueprints of the abandoned underground facility, and several of them were internal aerial photographs of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. I didn't know where he got them from. After watching it carefully for a while and remembering, he immediately released several sets of Insect Scouts and flew around along the abandoned underground passage. After a while, clear information about the internal facilities of the base, the patrol situation, the hangar and the ammunition depot, etc., were also fed back to his spy template one after another. This military base has a total of 3,345 people, including 2,214 combatants. It is equipped with 15 F-64 Eagles, 60 Mega Henrys 15 Pave Hawk helicopters, and 2 M3A-18 Bradley. 4 ammunition depots are located at coordinates 4x, 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 4x position. You can arrange the bomb to destroy before the operation. The missile storage is located at 4x coordinates. The guards rotate for 2 hours. There is strong electromagnetic wave interference nearby. Extremely small amount of radiation is detected, and it is inaccessible. After releasing a dozen sets of Insect Scouts in succession, it took several hours. After Sun Cheng finally mastered the facilities and distribution coefficients in the base, he just let out a long breath, and his confidence in completing the task increased again. A few minutes, just wait for the action to begin. Following Onslaught lurking at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Sun Cheng they waited for 2 days. Starscream had no audio over there, and it was unclear what happened. Instead, it was Laserbeak, who sent him 2 long-distance communications in succession during these 4 days. Because of Starscream's previous request, Sun Cheng never agreed to meet him, and even encrypted his communication coordinates to avoid being captured by Laserbeak. However, he also kept his eyes open, and also returned a communication with Laserbeak, telling him that he had been monitored by Barricade now, and it was difficult to find an opportunity to leave. Of course, this communication was sent in the presence of Onslaught. After a long wait, I finally received the long-distance communication from Barricade on the 3rd day. He and Bonecrusher have arrived, and his counterpart actually has Spectro. It seems that Starscream's nuclear warhead for Davis-Monthan Air Force Base is a must. Fool, I told you not to be so close to the base. After leaving the hidden tunnel with Onslaught, when they arrived at the round, Onslaught returned to robot mode with anger, short-tempered, and put Barricade in front of him, fiercely looked at him. The command of this operation turned out to be you. Bonecrusher clearly recognized Onslaught, complexion somewhat unpleasant. Sun Cheng probably understands this. I have been with Onslaught for 2 days. At first, he thought this guy was easy to get along with. Why did he think that this guy is simply a typical Decepticon? Onslaught, who is a bit perfectionist, takes his plan very seriously. Once he has a plan, he will not only ask himself to follow it, but also force others to follow the plan. So much that in 2 days, Sun Cheng tried to turn around in the base several times, but he was arbitrarily rejected by him. He could only bore with him in the tunnel near the base, bored to death. Barricade was treated so violently, and his temper suddenly came up. He drew out a weapon full of spikes from the mechanical body, and fiercely threw it on Onslaught, kicked him back a few steps, and then looked at the Sinister. With Onslaught, he shouted, "Do you want to fight with me before acting?" HMPH. Quote, Onslaught is really a violent temperament, directly into the fighting state. Seeing that the action has not yet taken place, the two of them will have a fight first. Sun Cheng looked at Bonecrusher and found that this guy stood aside with interest, without any intention of interfering. Look at the Spectro again, taking pleasure in other people's misfortune in the eyes of this little thing has no meaning to hide, so he shouted, "Fight, fight, it's best to die." Seeing this, he had to stand up with brace oneself and persuaded, "Sir Barricade, Sir Onslaught, Lord Starscream's task is important." At this time, he could only move Starscream out. Fortunately, the name of Starscream is still deterrent to Barricade or Onslaught, so after hearing him mention Starscream, the two people have coldly snorted and turned their heads separately. A farce was stopped by him. Spectro did not conceal the disappointment on his face, but Bonecrusher looked at Barricade and Onslaught, and said, "Lord Starscream saved me. I will help him with this time's task. Too, since you doen't fight anymore, let us arrange our respective tasks." Quote. As soon as Onslaught was about to speak, Bonecrusher interrupted impatiently. "I was fed up with you when I was at Cybertron. I plan to let him speak. I don't even want to hear your words." After that, he pointed to Sun Cheng. "Yes, let frenzy come." Barricade immediately echoed, looked towards Onslaught with a sneer. The plan was also proposed by Frenzy anyway, let him arrange it. Spectro's disapproval, "I'm against." He pointed to Sun Cheng, and he almost didn't jump up. "If you want this man to command me, don't even think about it. Roll." Onslaught kicked him out with a kick, then stared at Bonecrusher and Barricade fiercely for a while before being coldly snorted, "All right, if the mission fails, you can tell Starscream yourself." After he finished, he directly transformed back to Super Heavy Truck. Listening to the booming sound, it seemed that even the engine started. Realizing that several lines of sight fell on him, Sun Cheng had to brace oneself and came over and said, "Today's action plan was indeed proposed by me. In a few moments, we will divide the troops into 2 routes and attack Davis Monthan directly. Air Force Base, the other way is to attack another nearby base. Since several adults are not opposed, then I will arrange the mission." Quote. Sir Barricade is the fastest. I hope you can go with Spectro to another base nearby and destroy its support ability, then come here to support us. He looked at Onslaught and Bonecrusher again and said, "Sir Bonecrusher is not as fast as Sir Barricade. I hope you will be with Sir Onslaught and me. The 3 of us are responsible for attacking Davis Monthan Air Force Base. I will start the action immediately afterwards." The communication system in the base was paralyzed, and some aircraft electronic equipment was destroyed. "I will send you the coordinates of several ammunition depots in the base to you later. Please, 3 adults must destroy all aircraft immediately. Sir Bonecrusher is responsible after the completion continue to destroy and contain in the base, and I, along with Sir Onslaught, snatch the nuclear warhead." Quote. This is probably the most reasonable arrangement at present, so Onslaught is directly nodded, and seems to be quite satisfied with his arrangement. However, the other 2 powerful soldiers besides him are very dissatisfied with this. Barricade glared at Sun Cheng and took the lead in expressing his dissatisfaction. "I want to stay here to make sure that my actions will not go wrong. I don't want to be with Onslaught." Bonecrusher also flatly refused his arrangement. Onslaught coldly snorted, looked towards his eyes are a bit wrong. Sun Cheng can only shrug. "Well, the arrangement of the 2 adults is reversed. Sir Barricade, Sir Onslaught and I are responsible for this. Sir Bonecrusher and Spectro go to destroy another base." "I object." Spectro jumped out again with dissatisfaction. Unfortunately, not only did Sun Cheng not look at him, but Barricade, Bonecrusher and Onslaught ignored him. Simultaneously nodded agreed. "So, in order to ensure the success of the operation, we need to attack at the same time. Sir Barricade, please send them the coordinates of the target base. Please Sir Bonecrusher and Spectro on the road immediately. Before you arrive at the destination and launch Onslaught, please be sure to send a long-distance communication reminds us so that we can do it on both sides at the same time. Quote. Can. Bonecrusher readily agreed. After getting the coordinates from Barricade, he took Spectro together and rushed to another military base nearby. Because there was almost no fight before, the atmosphere between Barricade and Onslaught suddenly became awkward. Onslaught and Barricade quietly approached Davis Monthan Air Force Base by night, waiting patiently for the long-distance communication from Bonecrusher outside the military warning line 5 kilometers away. It's Sun Chang, not at all with them. Because of the task of destroying the base's external communication equipment immediately, he first sneaked into the base through the abandoned tunnel that was lurking before Onslaught, and transformed back to boombox form in the barracks closest to the communication station. Wait patiently for an attack signal. After more than 20 minutes, Spy Template jumped and finally received the attack signal. Sun Chang immediately jumped out of the barracks and quickly rushed to the communication equipment station. Almost at the moment he jumped out, Sun Chang subconsciously glanced far away, and suddenly saw a violent explosion. Can't help but stop looking. I saw a light rising from a distance, but just a moment later I was slammed into the barracks, instantly destroyed a C-17 transport aircraft that did not enter the hangar, and the explosions continued sounded. These guys. Sun Chang was a little irritated. He clearly told him to wait until he completely cut off the communication equipment before attacking the base. Didn't expect, simply ignored his arrangements. Feeling angry, he knew that fighting was not a child's play. When I stepped a little faster, I quickly rushed to the communication equipment station. I saw 2 American soldiers standing in front of the door to guard. Sun Chang moved his hands together and aimed the 2 poison darts at the 2 guards. The soldier fired and completed the kill instantly. The door of the communication equipment station was locked outside, but it was not difficult for him. After the fingers transformed into a steel bar and inserted into the lock, the next moment opened the door lock. He kicked the door open and broke into the room full of communication equipment and wreaked havoc. It wasn't until he confirmed that the impossible was repaired, he left, and ran to the aircraft hangar. Enemy attack. Communication equipment. All communication equipment failed. Oh, God. Damn, we were attacked. Support. Need support here. The shouting shouts kept ringing in the base, and Sun Chang released 10 sets of insect scouts one after another, so that he could grasp the situation in the base firmly. Soon, a group of battle situations was transmitted to his spy template. The direction of Davis Monthan Air Force Base. Onslaught has become incarnation at this time and has become robot mode. With a tall and sturdy height of 7 or 8 meters, he is holding a large gun and steadily pushing towards the base steadily. The big blue gun flashing from time to time shot somewhere, and every time an explosion sounded, at least one fighter was completely destroyed. Obviously, the aircraft explosion that Sun Chang saw just now was the credit for Onslaught. Compared with the steady progress of Onslaught, Barricade's combat style is completely different from his. When an insect scout released by Sun Chang captured his silhouette, the guy didn't have a transformation and hurried into the base as a police car. The bullets fired by the U.S. military hit his car. Although he saw sparks from time to time, he could not cause any damage. Soon after he rushed into the U.S. military aircraft fleet that hadn't had time to lift off. He forced a dense bullet transform back robot mode, and then waved the spiked weapon in his hand brutally, smashing it with a stick. An F-15 times exploded into 2 halves, another stick threw away, another head smashed, and a fragmented ground truck smashed a ground vehicle when it hit the ground. Shoo! A Stinger anti-aircraft missile shot from a short distance, hit Barricade accurately, and the huge impact made him stumble back a few steps. However, the effect is only this. Obviously this is not an anti-aircraft missile for armored targets, and it cannot penetrate the alloy armor of the Barricade mechanical body at all. But even so, the intensive sound of guns and explosions all reminded Sun Chang that the American soldiers not at all stationed here were frightened, and they were still organizing forces to fight back. I have to speed up. In the heart reminded himself. Sun Chang also accelerated the pace of action, rushing towards the hangar in memory. Although Decepticon are powerful robotic organisms, they are not completely unsolved. Not only the nuclear weapons manufactured by human can also kill high-rank Decepticon, but even some heavy weapons equipped by the human army, such as high-explosive bombs, depleted uranium armor-piercing of tanks, some anti-ship missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, etc. Has a lot of lethality. This is one of the reasons why they rushed to destroy humans' air power at the beginning of the operation. When passing by an ammunition depot, Sun Cheng quickly rushed into it. After threw away several poison darts with radioactive elements and killed several United States soldiers, he found some C4 bombs equipped by the U.S. military and set them up immediately. And dispersed them in the ammunition depot. Then he flew out like he had escaped, and he had just broken into a parking garage, and heard a loud noise not far behind him, boom. As the ammunition depot where many weapons and artillery shells were stored exploded suddenly, a jetfire column ignited and instantly illuminated the entire base. Not good. The explosive power of the ammunition depot exceeded Sun Cheng's imagination. He was inexperienced. At first Sun Cheng, also just based on his own experience seen in the movie before, thought that the bomb storehouse was blown up, and part of the battle strength of the defenders was abolished. However, this kind of scene, like a nuclear explosion, is estimated to be vaguely visible from tens of kilometers away. It is not difficult to imagine that the U.S. military reinforcements will come faster and more than imagined, so their mission has been accelerated. He quickly cooperated with the destruction of dozens of aircraft electronic equipment in the hangar. When he just got out of a hangar and was about to continue to destroy it, suddenly a violent explosion sounded at his new target. Sun Cheng looked up. It was then discovered that it was Onslaught, the Decepticon soldier that this battle strength almost burst into the table, and came in from the main entrance of the base. Almost half of the base's resistance was destroyed by him. Sir Onslaught. Sun Cheng ran towards him quickly and was grabbed by him and placed on his shoulder. We have to speed up the action, the explosion just now is too striking. Understood, let me hold it here. A round of artillery shattered a F-15 fighter who had already left the hangar and was ready for emergency lift. Onslaught hummed and sent a communication to Barricade not far away. Immediately after the communication was issued, Barricade transformed back to the police car form and drove quickly in front of two people. Get in. The silhouette from the Barricade projection hurriedly urged Sun Cheng. He immediately followed. Onslaught nodded, jumped off his shoulder and sat in the passenger seat. Hey! With the bursts of rumbling sound, Barricade immediately carried Sun Cheng towards the missile repository they had detected. Stop. Damn, this police car is the attacker. RPG, we need RPG. Sun Cheng sat in the police car that Barricade turned into, only to feel cold all over. Barricade carried him along the way with no intention of avoiding, and any American soldier who dared to block was crushed or hit by him. On the windshield in front of him, he was already red with blood. The guy with this bad character seems to enjoy this slaughter's weak pleasure. Sun Cheng even saw Barricade sticking out two horrible spikes from the position of the headlights. He flew forward at a very fast speed and met the American soldier. Whoever could not escape being caught in the two spikes sticking out of him, his legs would be penetrated and broken off. After being hit by him, he flew high and fell to the ground. It's cruel. After crossed over came to this world, although he also got blood for various reasons, he was still very uncomfortable. Now comparing another two people, Barricade's cruel to abnormal behavior makes Sun Cheng add a few points in addition to the chills. Seeing that the missile storage library has appeared in the field of vision, there are many soldiers collapsed here and the simple defense built up, Barricade loudly roared, do it quickly. While driving at high speed, he suddenly re-transformed back to robot mode, holding the weapon full of spikes and rushing up bravely. Shua. Sun Cheng twirled a few times in midair before landing on the ground, and just subconsciously jumped to the side as soon as he landed. Next moment, a violent explosion and shock wave made his body fly unstoppably. I didn't know which American soldier saw him, and actually shot him with grenade launcher. Had it not been for spy template to capture the locked trajectory of the grenade, if this gun really hit him, he would have lost half his life without dying. After all, he was not the high-rank soldier of Barricade and Onslaught. Shoo! Threw away a poison dart and hit a machine gunner who was constantly shooting him. Sun Cheng rolled on the ground and hid in the shadows. Like this direct battle, he is no longer able to participate. Frenzy is not a combat unit. After the resurrection, the only means of attack on his mechanical body is dozens of poison dart containing radioactive elements. Although it can kill within a short time after hitting human, the poison dart is too little and kills. The force is just that. So, the only thing he can do now is to hide and wait for Barricade to clear the nearby resistance. Obviously, although Barricade's battle strength is no worse than Onslaught, it can still easily destroy the existence of a human army. Heavy weapons, we need heavy weapons. What monster is this? No rifle grenade can harm it. Call support, fast, fast, its target is a nuclear warhead. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base used to be the place where the US-Soviet agreement destroyed the B-52 bomber. It was also since then that this famous aircraft boneyard also shouldered the task of storing aerial bombs, missiles and even nuclear warheads. Major Aldous Carl is the person assigned to the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base by the military to protect the person in charge of the nuclear warhead. This 46-years-old veteran has experienced 2 Gulf Wars. Because he lost 1 ear in the war due to insufficient vigilance, Carl has since developed a cautious temper. Any wind and grass will make his nerves tight stand up. This is the case this evening. In fact, when there was a sudden explosion in the base, he had undressed and fell asleep immediately, waking up and taking over the missile storage and the nearby defense command. Damn, Sass, can't the communication equipment be repaired? Carl shouted anxiously at his communications soldier, support, we need support. Those monsters are targeting our nuclear warheads. The night vision binoculars had been thrown aside by him, and the bravely adventurous Barricade showed up. It took less than 2 minutes to break through most of the lines of defense he set up, and is now the last line of defense he can organize sprinting. At such a short distance, Carl can clearly see the young men under his hands with naked eyes, trying desperately to use his life to complete the impossible task. They have used all the heavy weapons they can find. The machine gun CA and wear that intruder's armor, not even rifle grenade and RPG. They can only watch the monster of impervious to sword or spear cruelly waving a spear-like weapon, bringing each and every one fresh. The living life is smashed and smashed. For the splashed limbs bring a bit of bloody smell to the surrounding air. The only thing Carl can do to damage the target is the 4 M2A3 Bradley originally stationed in the vicinity, but their role is also limited to 2 rounds of shooting. When several TOW anti-tank missiles hit the monster and caused cracks on its armor, the monster immediately after the reaction destroyed 4 infantry fighting vehicles so that they could never hurt it. Means. Major, the communication terminal was destroyed, and we can't communicate with the outside world. Replied by communications soldier, a face of despair, because it is a military base. Even if it is a US military known for its freedom and welfare, it is also impossible to allow communication terminals serving the public to be placed in the military base. They have dedicated channels, not cable or wireless communication, but satellites. But the bad thing is that the ground communication relay equipment connected to the satellite in the base was destroyed by Sun Cheng immediately. This caused Davis-Monthan Air Force Base to be located within the United States and had other military bases within a half-hour flight, but they lost the means of calling for assistance. Calm. Carl tried hard to calm down his communications soldier. He grabbed the collar of the black soldier and pulled his head to himself. He scolded sharply, "How can I not communicate with the outside world? The Big Bang just made sure to let nearby people notice that we are here. Our assistance will come soon. Don't forget that we still have keyholes. They will investigate here every 20 minutes. Soldiers, the only thing we need to do now is to stay until the arrival of reinforcements." Unfortunately, his efforts not at all took effect. With a cold light hitting Carl, who failed to react, there was a chilling poison dart above his forehead. His eyes immediately open wide, and his body quickly fell softly to the communications soldier's body. Up. Major. Alert, Major, fast, medical soldier. After the rushing medical soldier immediately announced the news of Major Carl's sacrifice, the desperate US soldiers completely failed to see how to guard the missile storage and prevent Barricade from coming close. Wah! As several soldiers blocking the last line of defense cried and fled, more and more American soldiers chose to escape, while Barricade looked at the soldiers who were scattered like ants. Neither attacked them again nor meant to catch up. Soon, the defense in front of the missile storehouse was completely lifted, and after realizing that the surroundings were safe, Sun Cheng also ran out of hiding. He stopped when passing by Carl. After quietly touching the vicinity of the repository, he saw this US military officer trying to organize a forced defense before taking action sneak attack to kill him. What Sun Cheng didn't expect is that the American soldiers who are accustomed to hitting the wind will actually flee this way, which is beyond his expectation. Looking around all around, there are no longer any obstructed army soldiers. Barricade, who was still unwilling, shook the bloody spiked weapon from his hand and put it back into the mechanical body. In the end, he glanced down at Sun Cheng. Without Barricade's command, he immediately walked quickly to the missile storehouse and cracked the door opening code. Although the U.S. military's missile repository has adopted 3 security systems, it has no resistance in front of Sun Cheng's spy system, and he easily cracked and opened the door. The warehouse is large enough that even Barricade can enter without the need to transform back the police car. We don't have much time, find it separately. After following Barricade and walking into the missile storage, Sun Cheng looked at the rows of shelves and had to propose so. The missile storage in Davis-Monthan Air Force Base does not only store nuclear warheads. Some high-explosive aerial bombs that require special storage, as well as infrequently used air-launched cruise missiles and long-range air missiles, are all stored here. Barricade nodded, first walked deep into the warehouse. What they need to look for is the strategic air-launched cruise missile of the AGM-129 series. This strategic air-launched cruise missile was produced by General Dynamics Corporation in 1987. The equipment was put into service in 1991, and a total of 93 pieces were produced before it was discontinued in 478. One of the few missiles that can launch nuclear warheads in the United States Air Force. Barricade walked fast, and soon disappeared from Sun Cheng's field of vision. He didn't bother to find it. He found that there was a small room similar to an office not far from the door of the missile storage. Sun Cheng thought about going to this office first. Before the person walked to the door of the office, his eyes sharpened. Just before, spy template caught a trace of very small sound, like the sound that human made when he swallowed. Someone here. He suddenly felt that after all, it was an important missile storage. Impossible in the warehouse did not arrange some personnel to supervise, detect and prevent open flames. Sun Cheng is no more Decepticon than other Decepticons. He has a more cautious personality. He was overshadowed and even detonated this missile repository. After keenly aware of someone in the office, he carefully released the recent 12 sets of insect scouts, directed 2 of them to fly to the office. As for the others, he put all his brain into the warehouse. These clever little brat did not let him down. One of the insect scouts entered the office with closed doors and windows from the vent, and soon conveyed the situation inside. 2 men and 3 women, only pistols, 1 civilian soldiers. Insect scout noticed that a person in the office was sneaking out of the window from time to time. Apparently they had understood themselves and barricade into the warehouse. Now that it has been exposed and has mastered the situation in the office, the most important thing is that Sun Cheng found that there are also several computers installed in this office, which means that it is likely to contain the storage information of many missiles in the warehouse, led him suddenly interested. At the moment, Sun Cheng immediately took out a few poison darts and took them in his hand, pretending to be an undetected look. First he strolled around in the vicinity, and then came to the office after a while. He first glanced into the room through the window, and then came to the gate. The password door in the office was too pediatric for him, and with no difficulty it was cracked. After realizing that several people in the room were also tense, he suddenly pushed open the door and jumped into the office. Don't forget to shoot the poison dart pinched in his hand at several hiding soldiers. There is an insect scout to help him determine the position of the other party, so his take action is not only very ruthless, but also not wading in mud and water at all, so he took a few American soldiers with precision. Have you changed? Understood. With a quick glance, everything in the office fell into Sun Cheng's eyes. The office is not large, with several desks scattered around, each with a computer on the table, and a computer dedicated to receiving data from closed-circuit monitors outside the warehouse. Several satellite phones were thrown around randomly. Obviously, after observing the changes outside, these soldiers did not try to contact the outside world. Pulling several corpses and throwing it outside, Sun Cheng jumped onto a chair, turned on the computer and searched the data inside. After a couple of minutes, I completely read through all of his complexions and jumped out a little strangely, then turned on the other 2 computers, and after looking through them in turn, immediately let out a long breath. Blue light flashed violently in both electronic eyes, moving Fuck, although I have heard that the military management of the US military is chaotic, didn't expect is actually true. Not only in the real world, but even in other world, United States is the strongest country on earth. Its powerful military power of global infantry has always been admired by many military fans. However, behind the halo blinking, there are also a lot of problems. For example, when Sun Cheng is in the real world, he will occasionally see some very messy news about the management of the US military on the internet. Sun Cheng used to be suspicious of the letter most of the time, but now he understands it. I am afraid that many reports are true. He couldn't believe it. He actually found the nuclear warhead storage data he wanted from the computers at these bases, and unexpectedly saw a lot of prohibited information. For example, the accurate parameters of the AGM-129 series of strategic air-launched cruise missiles, AGM-86C air-launched cruise missiles, partial maintenance and inspection charts of the AGM-65 series of air-to-ground cruise missiles, etc. Although it is only half a military fan, Sun Cheng knows a little bit about the data of core weapons, even though the logistics maintenance and storage process is also very strict management. For example, in China in the real world, some aircraft ground maintenance is published as a manual, and each use of the book has strict real name registration and management, and it is never allowed to be taken away, let alone made into an electronic version and saved. It's in the computer at the base. Good stuff. These are indeed good things, although it is purely more than wanting to create them, but if these data are mastered by United States opponents, it is equivalent to a large number of US Air Force cruise missiles today. Targeting is much easier. Sun Cheng has packaged and copied all the harvested data into his memory chip. Although it is not very useful for him, he only looks at Starscream and they will take the lead. States are in full battle, maybe when the time comes can be used. The unexpected gain made his mood very good. With the data returned by the successive scout, Sun Cheng quickly found the barricade that was still rummaging around. Sir Barricade, I found the storage location of the nuclear warhead. Come. Barricade, who was irritated, was obviously irritated, even though he knew that he could not mess up in the missile storage, otherwise he would have to lie here completely. So when he heard that Sun Cheng had found the storage place of nuclear weapons, he immediately put on an expression, "You did good." He rarely praised Sun Cheng. He immediately followed him and walked to the corner of the missile storage. American opened and closed an underground storage cell at the corner of the missile storage, and needed to enter 5 secret orders to allow the nuclear warheads stored underground to rise through the elevator. This is not a problem for Sun Cheng. He quickly completed his mission and successfully found 4 unremoved nuclear warheads originally used to equip the United States AGM-86C air-launched cruise missile. The accident did not find the nuclear warhead equipped in the strategic air-launched cruise missile of the AGM-129 series. Only a few equivalents were found. Sun Cheng was a little surprised. But when he saw Barricade expression excitedly, he prepared to carry it away. It seemed that he was also very satisfied with the 4W4-200,000 small nuclear warheads with a nuclear equivalent of only 80 tons. He simply didn't speak honestly. Onslaught. No need to keep it under control anymore, speed comes to the missile depot to follow us. Barricade is obviously a bit greedy, he can take up to 2 pieces, but seeing that there are 4 pieces in total, he immediately thought of taking them all away. Understood. As the explosion approached, Onslaught quickly opened the door of the warehouse and transformed back to super heavy truck into the warehouse. Take all. Barricade picked up a nuclear warhead and walked in front of him. Onslaught's mechanical body undergoes a transformation, revealing enough storage space for the nuclear warhead. Sun Cheng couldn't move this everyone, so he had to stand by and watch him move back and forth. After the incident, Barricade left 2 of them, holding the transformed back to the police car form. Sun Cheng wanted to leave with him. He didn't take a glance. After finding out that there was no room for himself in the police car, he had to enter the cockpit of Onslaught. Accompanied by Rumble's engine thunder, the raid mission was completed, only to return. The entire group quickly drove out of the missile warehouse and rushed to the Starscream base. Sun Cheng looked towards the outside through the windshield and could not help sucking in a cold breath of air. He used to think that Decepticon's battle strength was a bit off the table. Now when he looks at the tragic situation in Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, he takes a long breath again. Barricade is also that's all. He originally defected from Autobot to Decepticons. Obviously it is not as good as expected. This is actually not difficult to guess. Imagine that even the few low-ranked Decepticons of Camera Trio are equipped with heavy firepower, but Barricade does not have him. There is only a weapon full of steel spikes. Although it is also no stronghold one cannot overcome, it can be said that the lethality is far worse than Onslaught. Nowadays, the miserable base like hell is mostly caused by Onslaught. His horror gun, whose shooting speed definitely exceeds the speed of sound, is almost comparable to the legendary railgun. When a shot is exploded, it explodes. It is a humanoid self-propelled artillery. Trouble. Onslaught suddenly projected into the driver's seat a rough-looking middle-aged white robust man silhouette wearing denim suspenders and dirty undershirt, brows tightly knit. "Sir Onslaught, what's wrong?" Sun Cheng asked curiously. Bonecrusher sent long-distance communication for help. He is now blocked by humans' reinforcements and is currently fighting hard. Onslaught was a little irritated. The personnel arrangement in the plan proposed by Sun Cheng was actually done by him. If you follow Onslaught's plan and let the faster Barricade and Spectro go to another military base, he will have a great chance to avoid sticking together with Bonecrusher and Sun Cheng. Sun Cheng, hearing this, can't help heart sank. He has already changed from Onslaught here, understood Bonecrusher into a heavy armored minesweeper, far less speed than Barricade and Onslaught. Now that he heard that Bonecrusher was glued on, he immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. If no one rushed to support him, that guy might be worse. What about Spectro? Sir Barricade understood. He asked quickly. Spectro. That disgusting reptile ran away as soon as it looked bad. Onslaught's tone was a little heavy. I have told Barricade that he did not agree to rescue and asked us to send the nuclear warhead back to base as soon as possible. This is in line with his understanding of Spectro and Barricade. However, Sun Cheng was very hesitant to return to Starscream's base with Onslaught and Barricade. What kind of person is Starscream? People who have contacted him know that this is a formidable person who is taller than the sky and proud of himself. He dared to betray even the Decepticon leader of the Decepticons in the past. Maybe besides himself, Starscream will not believe anyone. This guy was painstakingly trying to grab a few nuclear warheads from human. Sun Cheng thought with his buttocks. It was not difficult to guess that he must have a picture, and the picture is not small. Now he has also helped him complete the task. Although on the surface Starscream has been understood and he was stabbed by Soundwave, it is hard to guarantee that this guy will not abandon one's benefactor after achieving one's goal. Sun Cheng thought more and more that he could not let all 4 nuclear warheads be handed over to Starscream. He tentatively asked Onslaught now, "So, Sir Onslaught, are we going back to the base now, or are we going to save Sir Bonecrusher?" Onslaught was silent for a while before suddenly asking him, "Since you are here, did Soundwave arrive at Earth?" "Sir Soundwave is still in Moon's base, but he has sent Laserbeak to contact me 2 days ago." Oh, Onslaught was a little surprised, and suddenly looked suddenly, so Starscream not at all lied to me, and sure enough, Allspark must be on Earth. He thought for a while before continuing. I don't know what Starscream uses for nuclear warheads, but it would never be good to give this madman this master weapon. I'm going to rescue Bonecrusher, and by the way, dispose of 2 nuclear warheads. Quote. At the end of the talk, his tone was a bit unclear, but the meaning was unclear, but unfortunately Sun Cheng didn't understand the product, and he couldn't understand what he thought. But Onslaught was ready to run, and he coincided with Sun Cheng's idea. He immediately echoed, I was sent by Sir Soundwave to help Sir Barricade to find the information of Leader Megatron and Allspark. This time for Lord Starscream's action a lot of time has been lost, and since Sir Onslaught is going to save people, please bring me too. Quote. In the end, worried that Onslaught would not agree, he still reminded, I can contact Laserbeak and let him come to help. Since arriving at Earth 2 days ago, Laserbeak has been trying to contact him. At the time, Sun Cheng sent out the information that his base was located in Tucson according to Starscream's arrangement. Based on his knowledge of Laserbeak, this guy will surely lurk in the vicinity before seeing himself. Laserbeak has suffered from Soundwave's poisonous hands like him, but after resurrection, he not only retains his flying ability, but his speed is also his strong point. Sun Cheng has no doubt that at this time, as long as he sends a signal, the guy will definitely come over in the shortest time. Sure enough, Onslaught thought about it and did not refuse to take him. He first sent a communication with Barricade, then regardless of Barricade's objection to changing lanes and tried to stop it, he moved the front of the car to move towards Bonecrusher in the direction of calling for help, leaving only Barricade behind, angrily transforming back robot mode in place. After a while, until he could not see Sun Chang, they retransformed back to the police car form, carrying the 2 nuclear warheads, and rushed to the base of Starscream. After not seeing Barricade from afar, Sun Chang greeted Onslaught and immediately sent a long-distance communication to Laserbeak and informed him of his current location. After 3 to 4 minutes, accompanied by a burst of sharp electronic sounds from the sky, he lifts the head, and he saw a huge bird-shaped robot with 2 machine guns hung up on his belly and flew above Onslaught. "Sir Onslaught, please open a door and let me go up." Onslaught readily opened a skylight above the cockpit to let him out of the cockpit. After seeing Sun Chang's silhouette, the somewhat ill-looking Laserbeak circled and hesitated for a while before it fell beside him. Asked with encrypted communication, "Why didn't you come to see me until now? I may have been noticed by Starscream when I sent the interstellar communication. Since then, he has been sending Barricade to stare at me. I didn't take the opportunity to run out until I helped him complete the task just now." "What mission? Who is he?" "This guy is Onslaught, and Starscream wants humans' nuclear weapons. We grabbed a total of 4 of them, 2 of which were taken away by Barricade, and 2 are now in his custody." Quote. Laserbeak has to ask again. Suddenly he and Sun Chang's faces changed simultaneously, a wing flew up and a panic jumped from the front of the car. At the next moment, a beam of laser light suddenly fell on the side of Onslaught, who had made an emergency avoidance treatment, and a huge hole blew up on the asphalt road. Enemy attack. Onslaught screamed, suddenly transformed back to robot mode, pulled out a large gun from the mechanical body and shot a sharp shot at a distance. After hitting a few rolls on the ground before standing up again, Sun Chang quickly looked in the direction of his shooting, but only vaguely saw a silhouette of a bright yellow sprinting away in the distance. "Does that seem to be a sports car? Damn, it's Autobot." Onslaught looked angrily into the distance, and his eyes were about to burst into flames. Sun Chang is not surprised at this. As far as he knows, Decepticon and Autobot are 2 very similar robotic organisms. In order to compete for the sovereignty of planet Cybertron, 2 great races has been fighting for millions of years, which is simply a life and death enemy. I can't wait to kill each other. However, what made him curious is, how can there be Autobot on Earth? It's Bumblebee. Laserbeak tried to chase it for a while, and soon came back. Under the abdomen, he also grabbed this mini-con, which had been struggling constantly, isn't it? Acting with Bonecrusher but stealing Spectro halfway. "Let me go, Cassette Legion's scoundrel." Despite being caught by Laserbeak in midair, Spectro is not at all restless, and his mouth is even more arrogant. Onslaught is not a fool. After turning the big gun back into the mechanical body, he turned his head towards the Spectro, and his tone was a little bad. "Did you bring him in?" The red light in Spectro's eyes flashed non-stop. Although he closed his mouth, he was no longer talking nonsense, and undoubtedly confirmed that Onslaught's guess was correct. The reason why they suddenly encountered an Autobot, and they almost caught a shot from the other side, right? This is Scoundrel's pot. Laserbeak slammed him down in the air with anger, but unfortunately, at this height, the Spectro that didn't respond was thrown into a big horse, but that's all. Onslaught presumably looked at him as upset, hummed and transformed back to heavy truck form, and continued to rush to Bonecrusher's call for help. Sun Chang got in the car, but did not enter the cab, but sat on the top of his cab. Laserbeak did not fall again this time, hovering in the sky all the time, and did not know what he was thinking. Several people traveled all the way, and soon after they heard the sound of guns and explosions. Ready to fight, Onslaught saw Bonecrusher shot from a distance by a group of US fighters impudent, and after being accounted for loudly roared, he turned into robot mode and raised his big gun to the AH-1Z Viper attack helicopter above the sky. That was crazy. Strikes Bonecrusher. It was just a shot, and it was broken into a ball of slag directly in the air, and the decomposed aircraft parts were scattered everywhere. "You hide away." After Laserbeak warned Sun Chang, he immediately spread his wings to accelerate a sprint and reached the side of an A-10 attack aircraft. 2 machine guns under his belly fired at his engine. Boom! With the explosion of an engine, the A-10 attack aircraft, which crushed Bonecrusher to the point of being unable to get out, finally lost its battle strength. After bumping in the air for a while, it quickly fell to the ground. Onslaught and Laserbeak, two Decepticons with anti-air combat capabilities, came to support an undoubtedly relieved Bonecrusher. This guy does not have the ability to fight back against the air, but the speed is still slow. If the armor on his mechanical body is specially strengthened alloy, it is enough to resist the overwhelming majority of human heavy weapons, otherwise it will not be able to support the reinforcements. Even so, Sun Chang glanced at Bonecrusher from afar, and found that he is now very miserable. The mechanical body is covered with cracks everywhere, and the left arm has been blown off the first half, which shows that even the individual battle strength is powerful enough to burst the table. The high-ranked Decepticon soldier is not completely unsolvable. Damn, these disgusting reptiles. Seeing the arrival of Onslaught and Laserbeak, he quickly reversed the disadvantages for himself, but Bonecrusher, who had no anti-aircraft ability, could only stay on the ground irritably and scold. After shooting a F-16 fighter belonging to the United States National Guard in midair into a fragment, Onslaught looked at the remaining fighters that the fleeing fighter was walking, shook his head and recovered his weapon. Go, more, the reinforcements should be coming soon, no time to delay. Bonecrusher groaned, but did not refute it. It can be seen that there is something wrong between him and Onslaught, but Bonecrusher obviously also knows that if he is not rescued today, he will not be allowed to fold here. With intention to talk to others, he was so low-hearted that he could only silently transform back to armored minesweeper form. Without even saying thanks, he drove towards the Starscream base. Onslaught probably also guessed that this guy would not thank him. He looked at Sun Chang and Laserbeak and asked, "You guys are going back to Starscream's base?" "No, Sir Onslaught, I think it's already unsafe." Sun Chang hadn't spoken yet, but Laserbeak had already fallen down, and answered it first with its sharp electronic sound. "It's not stupid." Onslaught lightly snorted, and looked at Bonecrusher, which has gradually disappeared from view. "I also have a hiding place elsewhere. Since both Soundwave and Autobot are here, presumably Allspark is on Earth." "And Lord Megatron," Sun Chang answered suddenly. Just like he was blessed to the heart, an idea suddenly appeared in his head. As early as 10 years ago, he arrived at the Starscream of Earth. It is likely that Megatron and Allspark are already on Earth. The evidence is actually not difficult to find. He had found many Decepticon symbol and Cybertronian text when he invaded the worldwide internet before. The reason why this guy has not been looking for Megatron is that he has no plans to launch a rebellion again, so Starscream only needs a nuclear warhead. Because it is as powerful as Megatron, in addition to the existence of the same level, it is estimated that only nuclear warhead this was born for destruction ultimate weapon can completely destroy him. When Barricade partnered with him, he never mentioned Allspark, saying that Starscream had already mastered part of the information about Allspark and he wanted to swallow Allspark alone in order to use the power of Allspark to create for himself an army. Of course, these are just things that he has managed to analyze together using the information he has today. There are a lot of things that Sun Chang can't think about. For example, why did Starscream actively expose his base to Soundwave, trying to deceive him to Earth? Onslaught looked at him and said nothing. After he silently transformed back to heavy truck form, he urged, "We should also leave." Yes, Laserbeak flew its wings and quickly rose into the air to hover. Sun Chang glanced at him enviously, and immediately sighed onto the cab of Onslaught. "Pa." At the moment of closing the door, the blue light in his eyes suddenly flashed. Just now Laserbeak suddenly sent him an encrypted communication. He told Sun Chang that Soundwave had learned what was happening on Earth, and he would immediately get from Moonbase is coming. Thinking of the Soundwave that Starscream had already pitted with his own hand, was coming, and the original encounter of Frenzy, after the resurrection. His mood that was originally relaxed by temporarily escaping from Starscream's sight, suddenly heavier again. At 2:54 a.m., when there was a rapid knock on the door outside the bedroom, United States President Richard Bruce Cheney, who was awakened from a sweet sleep, was very angry. "I was just about to sneer a few words, and suddenly the sound from the door suddenly made him sleepless, Mr. President. Our 2 local military bases were attacked and several nuclear warheads were lost." After rushing to face with cold water, Cheney quickly saw several defense and intelligence high officials including Secretary of Defense John Keller, Director of the CIA Michael Hayden, Director of the FBI Robert Mueller, etc. in his office. "Good for nothing," it's all good for nothing. The CIA has increased its funding every year, and the FBI hasn't asked me for money. Now what, gentlemen, can you tell me? Why is the United States of America so well guarded? Military base was attacked, or were both attacked together? Quote, it's no wonder that Cheney is so angry. Since World War II ended, Americans' proud slogan, "Reject the war from the land," will become a bubble during his tenure. A few years ago, it was just a self-directed 9/11 incident that would allow angry United States citizens to have money to donate money and no money to donate their lives. They fought 2 wars according to the plans designed by them, politicians. Not to mention that the United States has not yet digested the dividends and consequences of the 2 wars. Now, after the World War II, the United States homeland encountered the military attack carefully prepared by the enemy influence for the first time. Not only were 2 U.S. military bases destroyed, even 2 nuclear warheads were looted. If this matter spreads, it will be okay. Not only will the United States be shocked, it is estimated that the entire world will be shocked. Thinking of this, Cheney had made no secret of the anger in his heart, tapping his finger on the table. His tone was extremely cold. Do you want me to be the first president of United States of America to be dismissed by the Nationals? This is too terrible. Keller, Hayden, Mueller and the others looked at each other, and finally the Secretary of Defense Keller took the initiative to stand up, and his face was equally ugly to explain to him, Mr. President, things are not what you think is as simple as that. I have already communicated with the CIA and FBI just now, to ensure that no army of a hostile country can sneak into the United States for destruction. Quote, Cheney didn't hit the spot as soon as he heard it. Then you want to tell me, is alien calling? I'm afraid that is true. Keller ashen face replied. Ridiculous. Cheney coldly snorted. As the President of the United States, how could he never pay attention to the legendary Area 51, which is why he knows that there is only the U.S. military's Advanced Aircraft Research Base, that's all, only because the security level is very high. Then coupled with the intentional guidance of some interested people, it eventually became a world-renowned alien research base. Keller didn't speak anymore, and took a dozen pictures from the document pouch sandwiched under his rib and put them in front of Cheney. Cheney glanced inattentively and then suddenly the complexion greatly changed. After quickly picking up the pictures and looking back at them several times, he asked with a sullen face, where did these pictures come from? A part of it was taken from a military satellite at high altitude. The blurry pictures show the attacker of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. The last few are clearer, which were captured by Lendvren Base, S Aviation. We tried to get from these the armor strength of the mechanical soldier has been analyzed, and its strength far exceeds that of all alloys currently in the technical verification stage of United States. Quote, Keller sighed, so we think that these attackers might be alien. Alien. Cheney stood up anxiously and walked back and forth for a while before looking towards his subordinates and said angrily, then, where do these robots come from? Why attack United States? They want to snatch our nuclear warheads. What to do? Is the war going to start again? The most important thing is, how should I answer those media and our citizens? Could I just use the phrase, alien hit us? I want to ask you first, do you believe it? Quote, there was a sudden silence in the office. Director of the CIA Hayden hesitated for a moment before he broke the deadlock and said, Mr. President, we may not know nothing about this mechanical soldier. I was the CIA that just took over last year because the CIA headquarters data room has been sealed too much. I have just finished sorting the confidential documents recently. If I remember correctly, in the CIA archives, there is a research plan for mechanical soldiers. But the document I'm not to read the permissions. I need to obtain the authorization of Mr. President and Secretary of Defense at the same time, so that I can apply for access. Is there such a plan? Cheney was stunned. Hearing Hayden's words, he suddenly had some vague memories in his mind. He felt as if he had seen a similar document. However, after all, he is the United States President. This country is too strong and there are too many things that need to be kept secret, so that even his president who has served for 2 terms, there are still many president's confidential documents left by his predecessors. Keller apparently knew the most, and when he saw a president put his sight on himself, he had to answer truthfully, in the history of the United States, only a few confidential documents are left, which requires the simultaneous authorization of President and Secretary of Defense to apply for access. If the CIA headquarters are also preserved, then Director Hayden can only mention Sector 7. Quote, Sector 7, this is a more cryptic word than Area 51, which is now famous all over the world. So after Keller finished talking, not only Hayden and Mueller, the two CIA and FBI person in charge, big eyes staring at small eyes, were completely confused. Even Cheney, this United States president, has a puzzled expression. Seeing everyone put his eyes on himself, Keller could only shake his head with a wry smile. Don't look at me, that document requires me to be authorized by president to be able to read the document. The word I know is from the office record file left by the first Secretary of Defense. Quote, that is to say, we can only see this document by mutual authorization now. Cheney looking thoughtful. I'm afraid this can only be the case, Mr. President. Keller nodded. Okay then. Cheney immediately got up and greeted several subordinates to enter the underground mansion built under the White House underground to resist nuclear strikes and beheaded onslaught. When I walked to a room with only a desk and chair without drawers, Cheney and other people stopped. This is the United States specially set up for president to read high-level confidential documents after the completion of the electronic information room. Originally, officials other than president were not allowed to enter this room, but today is a special case, and Cheney temporarily threw the regulations aside. Several people walked into the room together, and Cheney sat down in front of the computer. After booting the computer, a password input box appeared after a little buffering. After everyone turned around tacitly to avoid it, Cheney entered the password. Soon after logging into the user interface, the computer is not very good. He can only operate it while thinking, and it took more than 10 minutes to find the authorization for Sector 7 mentioned by Keller. After Cheney clicked in, a special user interface popped up automatically on the didn't expect computer, and a mechanical sound also sounded. What's next? Quote. After he busy clicked to continue, the user interface changed again, images being captured, and the visitor is confirmed to be the current President Richard Bruce Cheney of United States. Please follow the prompts below for voice authorization. I, as the United States President, authorized to read this document. Authorization is established. Please switch to the Secretary of Defense authorization within 60 seconds. Cheney had to stand up and let Keller sit on the bench, and then he also followed the prompts to complete the authorization. After the user interface was suddenly disappeared, the phone next to the computer looked like a vintage landline phone of the 90s generation of the last century. The bell rang suddenly. Cheney was stunned for a moment. After seeing everyone looking at himself, it came back and stepped forward to pick up the phone. In an instant, a gentle middle-aged male voice came over the phone. Here is Sector 7, hello, Mr. President. The base of attack himself is the same as the base of Starscream, also located in the state of Arizona, except that one is located in Pima County in the south and one is located in a great valley in the northwest. Arrived. Seeing that the sky was about to dawn, the entire group rushed through the night and finally reached their destination. After Onslaught reminded, soon transformed back to robot mode. Obviously he was much more cautious than Starscream, not only chose the base far away from the trail, but also arranged some backers, such as whether Sun Cheng or Laserbeak have already noticed, all around faintly discernible surveillance. Let's go down. Standing above the gorge somewhere, Onslaught pointed down and jumped straight down. Sun Cheng walked in and found out that it was a concave mountain. Although it looked high, there was a platform out of the dozens of meters below. There was a platform out of it. Obviously, the base of Onslaught was hidden behind the platform. In the mountains. At this point, he couldn't help him, and he didn't greet Laserbeak to take along to withdraw. Sun Cheng had a way to learn. Onslaught took a deep jump. After a short weightlessness, he quickly landed on the platform. After standing, he looked forward. Sure enough, a huge cave was excavated in the mountain behind the platform. Onslaught apparently made some camouflage on the outside cave entrance. The natural caves torn apart. Onslaught walked quickly, turned into the cave and turned away. Seeing that Laserbeak also flew in, Sun Cheng was not able to delay, but also followed the path to the cave. Onslaught installed a lot of surveillance equipment in the cave. Sun Cheng looked at it and found that it did not look like it had been completed recently, although it seemed to be more simple and crude than the base of Starscream. However, if you look closely, it is not difficult to find that all the traces of the excavation of the mountain walls are exposed. It may have been there for some years. After only a few minutes of walking to the cave, everyone was suddenly bright. The base of Onslaught is not as complicated as that of Starscream. A huge cave space is almost filled with all kinds of strange-looking machines. Apart from this, there are some low-ranked Decepticon engineers who are busy maintaining and checking. Their appearance seems to be much higher than those of the miscellaneous soldiers at the Starscream base. I don't know if it's the other person who really talks so well, or give a face to the real big shot, Soundwave behind the two people. After taking Sun Cheng and Laserbeak back to their bases, Onslaught seems to have a much softer voice. I broke my machine, apart from this, you can just watch it. Quote. After Laserbeak landed, accidentally Incarnation became a pink robot. His robot mode looks only slightly higher than Sun Cheng, but it is not difficult to see from the precise mechanical body composition. Although Soundwave has also dropped him hand, but after the resurrection is still not too thin for Laserbeak, especially when there is an analogy with Sun Cheng this bad luck egg, I can see something more. Ignoring Sun Cheng looked towards her so unabashedly envious eyes, Laserbeak looked around all around, and the orange-yellow rays of light flashed in his eyes kept saying, Sir Onslaught, how long have you been in Earth? 10 years and 7 months. No, and also 9 months, I can't remember. Onslaught waved away 2 engineers who tried to maintain the machine in front of him without looking back replied. I know what you want to ask. Since Soundwave is here, it must be for Starscream. He fiddled with the machine for a while before stopping, and turned around to answer, unless Allspark is really on Earth, otherwise you will not take action. This veteran Decepticon is obviously not too cold for Megatron. He has never cared about this Decepticon leader from start to finish. I am afraid this is also one of the reasons why he will cooperate with Starscream. Laserbeak's eyes flickered, but he didn't ask any more questions. Obviously he had deep concerns about Onslaught. But it's no wonder that he is. Although Onslaught is not the powerful existence of Triple Changers, but the strength he has shown in his recent actions, all show the strength of this old Decepticon soldier, perhaps against Soundwave or even Starscream. With the existence of Shockwave, he has the strength of a battle. Even if there is a difference, it will not be too much. Such a powerful existence, if once killing him and Sun Cheng, it is estimated that the two of them really have to explain here. In the face of Onslaught, Sun Cheng is less fearful than Laserbeak. After seeing his finger lightly on the machine in front of him, a light screen was projected, revealing 2 blueprints that looked like some kind of long-tube weapon. Sun Cheng asked curiously, Sir Onslaught, what is this? Quote. Railgun, a weapon design I accidentally discovered on Earth. Perhaps as not his own hard work, Onslaught did not conceal, and directly answered him, humankind a fragile and small creature, the reason why it can occupy this planet is not unreasonable. Many of their ideas let me appreciate it, railgun is one of them. I plan to further improve this design to strengthen my mechanical body. Quote. With the movement of his finger, the design of the single-barrel weapon on the light screen was quickly modified to double-barreled. At the same time, Onslaught redesigned from the launch unit to the inner bore structure. After a while, it appeared a new double-barreled elongated blueprint is coming. Strengthening mechanical body. Sun Cheng hearing this, could not help a thought flashed through the mind. Before speaking of which, because of the scruples of Starscream, I feared that Starscream would take the surgery on his business trip. He had been nervous for a while. Even if he got the level 2 core enough to promote himself, Sun Cheng had no time to consider have been promoted. Now, watching a fierce battle is imminent. When he invaded Davis Monthan Air Force Base last night, his lack of battle strength has been completely exposed. Except for Starscream and Barricade, everyone else should not know that he got a level 2 core and that the thing was brought back to reality by accident last time. But today Onslaught's remarks awoke Sun Cheng. After hesitating for a while, he finally couldn't hold back, and actively asked Onslaught, Sir Onslaught, the last action exposed the disadvantage of my combat ability being too low. In order to better search for Leader Megatron and Allspark information, could you please strengthen the mechanical body for me? Quote. When asked about the exit, Sun Cheng immediately noticed that several lines of sight fell on himself. In orange-yellow, rays of light in Laserbeak's eyes, the danger flickered. If it weren't for Onslaught, Sun Cheng didn't even doubt that he would immediately rush up and tear himself into fragments. Looking at the Onslaught, when he turned his head suddenly and looked towards himself, he was surprised by the condescending expression on his face. Sun Chang's heart sank. He is not clear what he just meant. But Soundwave doesn't know when he will arrive at Earth, which has caused too much sense of crisis in his heart, so he was asked by brace oneself. As far as Decepticon, this autonomous robotic organism, is concerned, letting others help themselves is not less than promotion, but its behavior is almost outspoken allegiance. After all, his body has been transformed by others. It is difficult to say that in terms of Decepticon's bad personality, he will not take advantage of some restrictions and secret hands in the process of transformation. In the future, his life may be in the hands of others. However, Sun Chang had to seize this opportunity again. He was very clear that if he missed it, he hoped that he wouldn't say to complete the promotion on his own, that is, further strengthening the mechanical body he is currently using, nor is it something that can be done in 2 days. Unfortunately, he seems to be betting the wrong way. Seeing that Laserbeak's expression was getting worse, Sun Chang felt cold in his heart, and some regretted his rashness just now. Thinking about how to appease this lord for a while, he didn't want to lose his body suddenly. When he realized it, he noticed that he was actually grabbed by Onslaught and lifted to his front. Sun Chang looked up and happened to look at him, and in an instant he clearly captured the emotion called, "Find a new toy," in the other person's eyes. Interesting, I just need someone to help with some things, I promised it. It seems that after Onslaught agreed to carry out mechanical body strengthening for Sun Chang, he realized that his current situation was very dangerous. Laserbeak hurriedly left Onslaught's base, did not even find an excuse, and Onslaught didn't mean to stop him. It is estimated that Sun Chang is the only one to worry about. He has been in a state of restlessness for the next few days. How can he not forget the eyes of killing intent when Laserbeak looked towards himself before leaving? 4 days after the night attack on Davis Monthan Air Force Base, the location was still inside Onslaught's base. After taking Sun Chang back to his base from the outside, Onslaught's face was hard to hide. "Okay, all the necessary preparations have been completed, you can upgrade the mechanical body for you." Looking at the metal as bright as platinum in front, Sun Chang's eyes flashed a blue light. This metal is called hafnium alloy. It is a good thing he just stolen from the Special Materials Laboratory of Raytheon Company not long ago. It is a high-quality alloy with high melting point, oxidation resistance and corrosion resistance. Following on the Onslaught side for a few days, he was no longer an ignorant person. He finally had a deeper understanding of Decepticon's mechanical body transformation and promotion. According to Onslaught's intentional or unintentional introduction, among high-ranks Decepticon, there are many experts who master various strength and transformation technologies. He mentioned a lot of Decepticon that Sun Chang didn't even hear the name, but Sun Chang finally recorded only a few of them, namely Shockwave, Starscream, Soundwave and Onslaught. Needless to say, Shockwave and Starscream, these two were originally the most famous scientists of Decepticons too. The well-known triple changers are the masterpieces of Shockwave. After his transformation, Shockwave created this. Before this, Decepticon had never had a special soldier. They not only kept the robot mode like overwhelming majority Decepticons, but also had a flying form and powerful ground battle form. Although the number is scarce, from the beginning of each triple changers, the battle strength has surpassed the high-rank soldier of overwhelming majority, and Shockwave's technology is evident. As for Starscream, he is also a great scientist. Decepticon Air Battle Squadron, which was transformed by his hand, has absolute flight advantage over Autobot. At the same time, he also designed and added several kinds of efficiency to Decepticon's energy supply line. Geothermal energy conversion device. More than that, the transformation of robotic organisms is not the black technology pioneered by Starscream, but the technology born in Cybertron ancient era disappeared with the war that stretched for millions of years. But Starscream is not a believer. With his amazing research innate talent, he forcibly reproduces this powerful black technology. Although it is said that there are many restrictions, the battle strength after Decepticon's combination transformation is enough to describe the heavens and exterminating the Earth. This maybe it is also another important reason why he rebelled repeatedly but was repeatedly forgiven by Megatron. Compared to Shockwave and Starscream, Soundwave and Onslaught are undoubtedly inferior. Although two people each have good mechanical body transformation and strengthening technology, they are just like a method to improve their strength, just like high-ranked Decepticon of overwhelming majority. Decepticon's mechanical body mainly uses two kinds of alloys, namely titanium alloy and hafnium alloy. The former is mainly used for low-ranked Decepticon, while the latter is heavily used by high-ranked Decepticon. Compared with the humans who are still in the exploration stage, Cybertron's robotic organisms have long ago mastered the technology to make metal data more resilient, plus the inherent racial advantages, whether Decepticon or Autobot, their mechanical the body is hard to be easily destroyed by human. Tolerating the inner excitement, Sun Cheng now just wants to yell a few times in excitement. At first he thought Onslaught would still use the same special titanium alloy as his current mechanical body to strengthen the mechanical body, but he did not expect the other party to take him directly to open the base and let Sun Cheng use his spy template. After searching and stealing the required metal hafnium, Onslaught actually planned to redesign a new mechanical body for him. Now that the preparation work is done, Onslaught is about to start making a new mechanical body for him. Watching Sun Cheng move around excitedly, a pair of Onslaught who was designing a new mechanical body for him was impatient. "Little brat, don't be too happy too. Powerful mechanical body also means higher energon consumption, your core is too bad. Although I have also studied core of low-ranked Decepticon, it should be able to help you further strengthen, but in the end it still cannot break through to a higher level." Quote. "Yes, I am understood. Many thanks, Sir Onslaught. Thank me. No, it's just an equivalent exchange." Onslaught waved his hand. Although he didn't say so, Sun Cheng already understood the meaning of the other party. When Onslaught took him out to steal metal hafnium before, he also stole several controlled metals for Onslaught that have less reserves on Earth. Obviously those metals will not be used for his mechanical body manufacturing, which is needed by Onslaught strengthening himself to something. Apart from this, he has clearly told Sun Cheng that he needs his spying ability to find Allspark for himself. Although he didn't fully trust Onslaught, he at least felt that this guy was much better than Starscream and Soundwave, who had an unpredictable personality. It was another 3 days of waiting. When he woke up from a short coma, Sun Cheng instantly felt the change. After his mechanical body changed into robot mode, it was almost undoubtedly the skeleton, thin and thin, tall and sturdy and more sophisticated. And his core within the body, also immediately recovered from Sun Cheng's consciousness, fed back his current data to him. Frenzy. Spy robot. Close black lens bracket. Faction. Decepticon Cassette Legion. Close black lens bracket. Energon. 11,991,200. Close black lens bracket. Height. 5.9 feet. Weight. 377.79 pounds. Close black lens bracket. Core. Level 1 Strengthened Spy Template. Close black lens bracket. Equipment. 25.56mm caliber rapid-fire machine guns, 400 rounds of bullets. Close black lens bracket. Status. Good. Close black lens bracket. Wake up. Would you like to try a new mechanical body? It seemed to be noisy when Sun Cheng woke up. On the machine next to him, Onslaught, who was perfecting his 2 railguns, just turned his head a little, looked at Sun Cheng and turned his face again, unimpressed. Said, "Remember to go out, don't break my machine." "Yes, Sir Onslaught." Sun Cheng couldn't bear the excitement in his heart, and after complied, he jumped from the machine where he was lying. After thinking moves, he immediately felt that he had changed into a machine like North America Lynx, which is very common nearby. The beast comes. After switching from robot mode to beast mode, he didn't feel much discomfort in the accident. He tried to test his current speed and ran quickly on the ground. It took only 10 seconds to rush to the cave entrance. Then Sun Cheng jumped off the platform, and after a short hover in the air, he landed firmly on the ground, and he ran quickly and excitedly. After running for dozens of kilometers, Sun Cheng felt relieved and stopped on a large rock in the canyon. After silently estimating the moment, his eyes lit up. "My current beast mode, I am afraid that I can run at full speed for 3,100 kilometers per hour. Although it is far less than Barricade, this speed is enough to escape." Quote. Realizing that Onslaught also bought him 2 rapid-fire machine guns as weapons, Sun Cheng tried the summon, and suddenly felt 2 machine guns suddenly protruding from the outer wall of the forelimb. Excitedly he could not help aiming at far a huge boulder as a burst of fire. Da 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 da. The bullets ejected left each and everyone's recesses on the boulder. Unfortunately, the standard bullets of human were used. Although the lethality did not seem to be worse than Spectro's rapid-fire machine gun, the endurance was far inferior to him. With a sigh, Sun Chang doesn't blame Onslaught. He just tested the speed for a while, and the energon stored in core consumes a little bit. After careful calculation, Sun Chang quickly realized what Onslaught said before. His new mechanical body is really powerful today. Not only does it retain most of the functions of the original mechanical body and its defensive power is not worse than Spectro, but it also has the ability to change the beast mode. But correspondingly, the daily energon consumption of this mechanical body is also much stronger than in the past. According to Sun Chang's calculations, he can now consume 2 energon in 1 day in a non-combat state. Although the total number of energon stored after core is strengthened has increased, his current theoretical lifespan has been 3,750 days. It has been sharply reduced to 2,400 days, and it has been reduced by 1/3. This is not surprising why Onslaught did not equip him with a rapid-fire machine gun that consumes energon. It is because his core stored energon cannot afford the consumption. Sure enough, there will be gains and losses. Although a little disappointed, Sun Chang quickly adjusted his mind. He just wanted to test the changes of robot mode again. Within the body spy template, after suddenly catching a trace of danger, Sun Chang subconsciously jumped behind the stone. Before he could reach the ground, the 2 tongues of fire instantly fell on the boulder he was standing on. Sun Chang looked up that day and couldn't help but change his face. Above the sky, a large steel bird exuding cold metal color was staring at him coldly, his wings slightly raised, and the 2 machine guns under the big bird immediately aimed at him again, shooting wildly. This steel bird is Laserbeak. After seeing that the attacker was Laserbeak, Sun Chang only retracted 2 machine guns on his forelegs after a quick turn of his brain, and took the initiative to resist. Laserbeak, why suddenly attacked me? You seem to have some misunderstandings about me. While evading his shooting, Sun Chang did not forget to take the initiative to call him. Yes, he certainly can't beat Laserbeak. Although he changed a new mechanical body, Sun Chang did not blindly arrogant. He is well aware that his current battle strength improvement is limited, and 2 machine guns are installed, but the total bullet reserve is only 400 rounds, and does not mention whether these standard bullets produced by human can cause damage to Laserbeak's mechanical body. The number of points is never enough. He played with Laserbeak. As for running, Sun Chang did not think about it, but he was dismissed as soon as the idea came up. Laserbeak has an excellent flying speed. Although it is not comparable to Starscream and Air Battle Squadron, he is also a Decepticon that is famous for speed. If he is flying at full strength, he can complete the round-trip journey from Earth to Moon within 10 days. Sun Chang knew that he had been restrained to death by Laserbeak, but he couldn't run away, he could only think of another way. Obviously, Soundwave is not unprepared for the Laserbeak after the resurrection. Although Sun Chang is not clear whether he wants to be Frenzy in his own body, the memory chip is passive, at least from the battle strength shown by Laserbeak. Absolutely, this should not be the only thing. 2 machine guns in the abdomen fired back and forth at Sun Chang for a while, finally realized that when the other party had no intention to fight back, Laserbeak stopped the shooting resentfully. Still looking at him condescendingly and hovering in the air for a while, Sun Chang heard his sharp electronic sound. Frenzy, you dare to betray Master Soundwave. I don't know how you came to this conclusion, Laserbeak. Sun Chang naturally denied. In the previous action, I found that my battle strength was seriously insufficient, and it was not enough to complete the task clarified by Sir Soundwave. Onslaught is good at strengthening, and I just mentioned that's all casually. If Onslaught just happened to need someone to help, it would be very difficult. Cunning like Laserbeak will naturally not easily believe his words. Sure enough, the next sentence is uttered, and Sun Chang is immediately bluffed. Oh, putting it that way, you still have the guts to go with me to see Master Soundwave myself. Sun Chang, hearing this, briefly fell into silence. To be honest, now let him go to Soundwave. Sun Chang is really a little panicked. A week ago, Laserbeak mentioned that Soundwave was coming to Earth, but after that he never came to find himself, which made Sun Chang have to think more about other places. After all, he knew very well that Starscream had borrowed his hand early to bury Soundwave. Sun Cheng also paid special attention to the latest news when hacking the internet when he accompanied Onslaught to search for metals a few days ago. What he didn't think was that the invasion of Lenvrin Base was completely covered by the United States government, but it was Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, because the movement caused by him bombing a weapons and ammunition library is too big to cover, but in the end, the United States government moved out an excuse that an American soldier's improper operation caused an explosion in the weapons and ammunition library somewhere in the base. Since someone in the pot carried it for him, he was very happy. But apart from this, Sun Cheng also noticed something that made him very uneasy. Some internet comments from Tucson that he paid special attention to reflected that 2 days after the Onslaught incident broke out, many locals had heard of the explosion and rumbling sound, and similar complaints soon disappeared from the internet. Although Sun Cheng is still uncertain, the US military found Starscream's base along the clues and had a big fight with him. Or maybe Soundwave got caught in the trap and was slammed by Starscream. Anyway, he really doesn't want to see Soundwave now. However, after considering for a moment, he agreed, no problem, as long as Sir Soundwave needs me, I will be on call. Anyway, Laserbeak was sticking to him, and he couldn't walk away if he wanted to. Sun Cheng simply got rid of it, and he wanted to gamble. Maybe Soundwave doesn't even know the sloppiness between him and Starscream. Laserbeak stared at Sun Cheng for a while, and after seeing him for a while, he said with his sharp electronic sound, "Well, let me see Sir Soundwave." After finishing talking, Laserbeak swooped down and grabbed him. Sun Cheng noticed that the 2 machine guns he served had been locking himself. It seemed that he was slightly moving and would be beaten by Laserbeak. However, he obviously would not give the opponent this chance. He was honestly grabbed by him, and he saw Laserbeak suddenly flap his wings and flew to the distance at an extremely amazing speed. This flight was 3 hours, because Laserbeak kept circling in the middle of the flight, and suddenly adjusted the flight direction, so that he was not very familiar with the United States terrain. Sun Cheng was soon confused around the ground. You can only give up fuzzy positioning of your current position. However, Laserbeak's over-alertness made him have some ideas vaguely appearing in his heart. Sun Cheng is still not sure that he needs to see Soundwave with his own eyes to verify whether his guess is correct. Finally, after flying for a few hours, seeing the rolling mountain range below, Laserbeak finally began to slow down, and soon took Sun Cheng together to land in a deep canyon among the mountains. "Master, I brought Frenzy." When there were still more than 10 meters away from the ground, Laserbeak suddenly reported to somewhere in the canyon that he immediately dropped Sun Cheng from in midair. "Perhaps recently, I have received too many similar treatments, and I am used to thinking that Sun Cheng was not panicked after being removed by threw away, but just when he was just about to adjust his position so that he could fall to the ground, the empty space below him suddenly a wave of light flashed, and then a mechanical giant arm stretched out from that light wave, grabbing him in the palm of his hand. "You did good, Laserbeak." With a deep electronic sound, the flashing light wave fluctuated violently. After 5 seconds, I just felt Sun Cheng's head tightened, and I saw a mechanical soldier with all kinds of scars appeared in front of him. "Isn't it Soundwave? Long time no see, traitor." Into the eyes, it is a sinister and unobtrusive smile in killing intent. Feeling the sorrow from the new mechanical body, Sun Cheng Heartsank was sent to barricade by Soundwave to work with him for more than half a month. He still clearly remembers the Soundwave mechanical body before half a month is complete, unscathed. As you can see now, the half-skull has been disappeared, and all kinds of scars have been left on the mechanical armor everywhere. Even though there are a few tiny Metabots on his body, he is climbing up and down and repairing him constantly. But according to the injuries suffered by Soundwave, their treatment is nothing more than an utterly inadequate measure. He himself had to consider stasis to consume the energon stored in his core to completely repair the injury on the mechanical body. Starscream take action. In a flash, Sun Cheng suddenly understood that the treacherous cunning conspirator may have obtained what he wanted. The seriously injured Soundwave will have to temporarily enter the stasis to repair the injury. For a long time in the future, I am afraid that the entire Earth no one can stop Starscream from swallowing Allspark anymore. Chapter 39. Starscream too terrifying, and finally connected all the clues together. Understand that Sun Cheng only felt a cold heart. But he still had to raise his spirit to deal with the angry Soundwave. "Sir Soundwave, Frenzy has always followed your orders and has never concealed anything. He tried to make his spirit look calmer, although Sun Cheng himself heard the tremor in his tone. Otherwise, I will not follow when Laserbeak asks me to see you. Quote. Oh, quote. Soundwave stretched out a finger, and flicked restlessly just a tiny Metabot that accidentally crawled on his own eyeball. Seeing him turn his head towards himself, Laserbeak's eyes rolled, but he didn't lie in the end. He answered truthfully. Yes, master, he didn't lie. HMPH. Quote. Soundwave was coldly snorted, and he threw him down to the ground, looked at Sun Cheng with condescending anger, and his anger was not diminished. Now, I have brought you from barricade to all the things I have experienced before, repeat it all. Quote. Yes, Sun Cheng couldn't stand up at all after landing. He was targeted by Soundwave too badly. Although the new mechanical body is strong enough, he was also bent under the power of Soundwave's completely crazy and ridiculous transformation, waiting for recovery. For a while. He told him what he experienced after being dispatched to barricade right now. Of course, Sun Cheng did not fully tell the truth, but also concealed some, such as his deal with Starscream. Soundwave listened quietly to his words, and orange-red rays of light kept beating in his eyes. He stared at Sun Cheng with death, and a dangerous atmosphere was constantly stimulating Sun Cheng's nerve line. You are lying. With a grin, the sinister on Soundwave's face reappeared. He kicked Sun Cheng fiercely and kicked him far beyond the several meters. Laserbeak, Soundwave shouted, and Laserbeak immediately flew away in a tacit understanding, and soon caught unable to move even a little bit Sun Cheng back and threw it in front of Soundwave. Sir Soundwave, every word I say is a fake. Seeing the dangerous rays of light in his eyes grow stronger, Sun Cheng quickly quibbled for himself. Also dare to swindle me. Reptile. Soundwave punched angrily on the ground next to him. The force of terror immediately left a deep punch on the ground. Why Laserbeak didn't go to see him immediately after arriving at Earth? I already told him. Sun Cheng thought about it, so he immediately replied without any hesitation. When I went to meet Onslaught with Barricade, I took the risk to send you interstellar communication and tried to remind you Starscream came to Earth. After that, I consumed too much energon, and I fell into a stasis state briefly. When I woke up, I was already in Barricade's car. He and Starscream seemed to have discovered my actions. I was immediately brought to Onslaught by Barricade, and I waited until the mission began before I found an opportunity to contact Laserbeak. Quote. Do you still want to lie to me? Soundwave picked him up angrily, with sharp fingertips constantly rubbing sparks on Sun Cheng's brand new mechanical body. Don't betray me. Where did your new mechanical body come from? Your new core is where did it come from? Quote. The new mechanical body was designed by Onslaught for me. He is not the person of Starscream. I have confirmed this. Laserbeak should have told you that Starscream planned an action and robbed 4 nuclear warheads from Earthling. 2 were taken by Onslaught. Quote. Sun Cheng said. The reason why Onslaught helped me get the new mechanical body is to help me find several rare metals on Earth. He needs these metals to build a new fort to strengthen himself. Apart from this, Onslaught also asked me to help him search for news about Allspark. As for core, I still use the original one, except that Onslaught slightly strengthened it. Quote. Oh, quote. Soundwave picked him up in front of him and suddenly shot 2 red lights into Sun Cheng's eyes. Before he could react, he immediately heard a series of intensive sounds from core. Warning, warning, discover unknown data intrusion, active interception function enabled, defense function enabled, core data encryption, misleading data function is turned on, ding, the highest authority is transferred, core data is being read. This guy. Sun Cheng's heart sank. His core faced Starscream's fashion last time and was able to resist for a moment, but now in front of Soundwave, he did not form a defense at all. He was seized by the other party with the highest authority, killing his current life completely grasped the palm. Recently, he has been with Onslaught. After experiencing a lot of things, he still doesn't understand. Frenzy has been doing some work with Soundwave by his core as early as the resurrection. Allow others to blatantly look at their core memory data. This is really a very bad experience, just thinking of a sudden consciousness in my head, looking at all your memories in front of you. Sun Cheng has experienced it once before. The reason why he is afraid of Starscream is abnormal. Even after the operation is over, he dare not follow Barricade to return to the base to collect the spark he promised to give himself. How much memory! Now encountering this hand of Soundwave, Sun Cheng is very angry. He is afraid that Soundwave sees something that should not be seen, and he is even more worried about the biggest secret exposure of those who crossed over. Damn, I swear, this thing will never happen again. With anger and unwillingness, the will to survive was completely stimulated in an instant, and Sun Cheng frantically tried to seize control of Core and forcibly expel the data invaded by Soundwave. It seemed that he sensed his unwillingness, and Sun Cheng soon felt that a strange and powerful data suddenly surged out of an unknown place in his body. In an instant, all the intrusion data from Soundwave was driven out of his core by this data. When Sun Cheng responded, and subconsciously searched for the data again, he found that it did not know where it was hidden. What? Forcibly memorizing the reading failure, let Soundwave can't help lightly exclaimed. But soon I realized and so on him, and sneered Sun Cheng back to the ground, and satirically satirized, I said why I always feel that you are a bit wrong, and the seal has been unlocked. He glanced at Laserbeak next to him, and he frowned before ordering, go guard nearby. Yes, master. Although Laserbeak was surprised by the change in Soundwave's attitude, it was faithfully complied and soon disappeared into the vision of the two. As soon as Laserbeak left, Soundwave looked towards Sun Cheng indifferently, and said flatly, a few days ago, Laserbeak suddenly told me that when you have betrayed me, I was still surprised. In your current state, impossible at all, unlock my seal, is it Starscream? Or Onslaught, quote. Sun Cheng has also reacted to this, he knows Soundwave has found that his seal has been lifted. However, listening to his tone, it seems that he has not read much of his memory data. Sun Cheng heaved a sigh of relief, still maintaining the original tone, calmly replied, is there a difference? Sir Soundwave, for the present for you, crushing me is just a single thought. It looked down on you. Soundwave coldly snorted, but in the next second it fell strangely into silence. Just when Sun Cheng was anxiously guessing whether he was thinking about how to pack himself up, he heard Soundwave's cold electronic sound again, since you have recovered your memory, let's talk openly. Thanks to your information, he was led to ambush in his base and now he has to prepare stasis to repair the injury. Quote. But you shouldn't be too happy. Starscream didn't know what conspiracy he was doing. He suddenly left Cybertron a few decades ago and came here. He must have got information about Allspark or Leader. Without concealing the killing intent in my heart, Soundwave stared indifferently at Sun Cheng, I moved some hands and feet in your core and now I will not kill you. Blackout will arrive in Earth after half a month, there let's try our best to find information about Leader and Allspark. When I wake up again, I will look at your efforts and consider whether to keep you alive. Quote. Now, let me go as far as I can. After being dumped by Laserbeak from in midair, Sun Cheng took advantage of a North America redwood tree trunk, jumped in the air, and then landed firmly on the ground. After standing firm, he looked up at the sky again, but where could he find Laserbeak? The guy had obviously gone back and protected the Soundwave that was about to enter the stasis. After a simple search, after confirming that not at all human nearby, Sun Cheng transformed back to robot mode and sat on the ground. Life is saved. This should be the most fortunate thing for him now. Sun Cheng really did not expect that Starscream would act so decisively on the Soundwave take action of the same faction. However, this is not a bad thing for him now. Judging from the injuries suffered by Soundwave, this guy probably needs at least stasis about 3 to 5 years to complete the repair of the mechanical body. Perhaps he just let me go because of this. Sun Cheng had a deep understanding in his heart. Obviously Soundwave is very worried that Starscream will find Allspark in the past few years when he has to fall into stasis. This guy came to Earth a few decades ago. If it were not for him, he already had accurate information about Allspark. There is no reason why Starscream dares to take action on Soundwave so blatantly. Soundwave in stasis will be very fragile, so he must leave a loyal Laserbeak to protect himself. But as a result, he didn't have who to use for himself. Sun Cheng wondered, it should be because of this reason that Soundwave didn't choose to clean up his memory immediately after discovering that his memory had been restored, but instead gave him a coercive temptation to force Sun Cheng to work for himself. Fortunately, after temporarily relieving the danger of his life, Sun Cheng couldn't help but get excited. Soundwave apparently did not know that he was already the frenzy anymore. By not knowing the mysterious spherical space hidden in his within the body, Sun Chang could completely leave this world and return to his original before he woke up again in the real world. However, this is undoubtedly the best result for him. After quickly clearing up all his thoughts, Sun Chang got up and left the unknown forest. Although I understood that the guy on Onslaught could be worried about himself, but after thinking about it, he sent a long-distance communication to the other party, telling Attack himself to see Soundwave. After being assigned a new task, he would not go back temporarily. After sending the communication, he looked towards all around the forest of Mowlin. Laserbeak didn't know where he was thrown, but it was also a problem for Sun Chang. He is now different from a few days ago. He obtained a new mechanical body Sun Chang. The strength improvement is very obvious. Although it is far less than Barricade and the others can face an army, but the self-protection ability has risen in a straight line, and has been implemented separately. Ability to mission. After simply recognizing the direction against the sun, Sun Chang transformed back to beast mode again and ran all the way to the southward direction that he identified, from time to time to adjust the course of travel with the help of the beast path and the direction of the river. Speeding along all the way, after more than half an hour, he finally caught some piles left after manual felling. Determined that he was about to get out of the forest, Sun Chang couldn't help mind shakes. Seeing that the sky was still early, he was cautiously staying in the forest peripheral zone until night, before quietly leaving the forest. Fumbled around the nearby human settlement, Sun Chang could not help being disappointed. Not at all. The human city he looked forward to was a small town at most, and it looked like it could accommodate a few hundred households. If it weren't for the American-style country houses in the town, stand in great numbers, just this population, Sun Chang felt that it was not as good as the villages in the Midwest. After carefully turning around, Sun Chang was completely disappointed. This is a standard American country town, mainly based on logging and aquaculture. The residents of the town are like the vulgar people in the United States. The computer was gone. He sneaked into more than a dozen households and found no trace of the computer. Fortunately, by signposts, he made sure that he is now in the state of Oregon, dozens of kilometers to the south is state of Nevada, and more than 2 kilometers to the east to the state of Idaho. After finally understood his current position, Sun Chang couldn't help thinking. Under the first stage, he was going to find a larger human city to dive in order to find clues about Allspark. It's not that Sun Chang was really bluffed by Soundwave and was ready to work for him. But his core was moved by Soundwave, but it really reminded him that Sun Chang suddenly realized that he needed Allspark very much now. Since the beginning of Crossed Over, he has understood that core is the root of Decepticon, but it was not clear why at that time. It wasn't until Onslaught designed the new mechanical body for him that Sun Chang clearly realized that there is no stronger core even if the mechanical body is no longer powerful. But it is not easy to get core. Once he did and know the method of manufacturing, elite soldiers like Onslaught knew very little about core. It is estimated that only the Decepticon giants like Starscream, Shockwave and Megatron only then did I know the manufacturing method of core. Starscream had made a deal with him before, and Sun Chang obtained a level 2 core from him before the transaction, but for the more advanced spark he promised to give himself, Sun Chang now does not dare to ask. Not to mention the fact that Starscream has several points of true and false, only the half of the spoils of war that was forcibly taken by Onslaught. Sun Chang felt that he might be angry. What's more, with that guy's worse character than Soundwave, he was reluctant to accept the pain of being once mastered by others. He doesn't make core himself, the only big shot Starscream that can give him core. Sun Chang is completely uneasy about him. As a result, he wants to upgrade his core and remove Soundwave's threat to him. The only way for Sun Chang is to find Allspark. Allspark, supreme sacred artifact of Decepticons. Originally Sun Chang knew almost nothing about it. But when he was next to Onslaught some time ago, he used to put a lot of information on this topic. According to Onslaught, Allspark may be derived from Cybertron Ancient Era, Dynasty of Primes Era. Legend is that the divine artifact created by one or more elders together, it has almost endless energon, can give life to the machine. In Ancient Era of Cybertron, all Decepticon and even Autobot are given life by Allspark and evolved to be more powerful. Sun Cheng also thought that if he could find Allspark, he would have a great chance to solve his within-the-body core problem. However, it is not so easy to find Allspark. Starscream's deliberate thoughts, Soundwave follow closely from behind, Onslaught waiting for opportunities, and the Autobot that appeared at the end of the task that day, all showed Allspark may be on Earth, but Earth is so big, I want to find Allspark is not an easy task. By the way, I remember that Onslaught mentioned that Allspark is a huge cube. If it landed on Earth, it would be regarded as a meteorite by Earthling. And its surroundings are filled with an evolutionary force. Be given life to become a robot. If this is the case, then there must be witnesses to leave a record. After finally sorting out two important clues for him to find Allspark, Sun Cheng only knew mind shakes, and then he only found the direction to shake. After only a little direction, he left this place called Ogden Marsh's town, continue south and drive towards the state of Nevada. After a half a month, he returned to Tucson again, and Sun Cheng seemed more cautious than before. The University of Arizona. Don't let me down. Quietly by the dark night, lurking near the campus of the University of Arizona, Sun Cheng detected the distribution of the monitors near the school, while calmly looking for a location where he could easily invade the campus. Before returning to Tucson, he stayed in Carson, Nevada for 2 days. During 2 days, Sun Cheng was busy looking for clues about Allspark and hacked into the internet many times. He not only searched all the meteorite's natural disaster records recorded in the history of United States, but also painstakingly searched the internet for various kinds of news related to haunted and robot. But to Sun Cheng's disappointment, he failed to search the internet for any commotion caused by Allspark. However, he didn't find any suspiciousness at all. Sun Cheng found a suspicious clue in investigating the heavenly meteorite. As one of the countries with the most meteorite onslaught on Earth, within the United States maintains a wealth of records about the meteorite landing in various states. Many of the small craters are equipped with professional inspection records, but only one named Beringer Crater's survey language is unknown, which immediately caused Sun Cheng's suspicion. Patients continued to follow this suspicious point, and he became more and more strange. According to an investigation by Sun Cheng, Beringer Crater is often called Arizona Crater. It is located in a desert in the state of Arizona. It is a huge crater with a diameter of 1.2 kilometers and a depth of 180 meters. It is suspected to be 10,000 years ago a huge meteorite struck Earth. There are many introductions about it on the internet. For example, some geological experts believe that the mass of the meteorite impacting the desert of state of Arizona is estimated to be a few million tons. The impact velocity into the Earth atmosphere is between 1 million and 10 kilometers per second. About 20 million tons of TNT are released during the impact. Equivalent, formidable power is comparable to a large equivalent hydrogen bomb. It stands to reason that a meteorite of this size hit Earth, which is a rare encounter in 1,000 years. Even though Beringer Crater was caused by 10,000 years ago, there is no reason why the United States government sent a large number of experts to study the small meteorite that fell within the territory within 100 years, but did not study it. But the result of Sun Cheng's careful investigation is that he only found out more than 90 years ago, that is, in 1912, the University of Arizona sent a team of scientific expeditions to investigate Beringer Crater at his own expense. Apart from this, what did the scientific research team find? What are the members? Did you find a meteorite fragment and so on? You can't find any of these on the internet. This is interesting. The largest crater in the United States, but could not submit a detailed investigation report, and even in recent decades, the United States government could not be found to send experts to investigate it. What's more, this Beringer Crater is also located in the state of Arizona. With Sun Cheng's knowledge of treacherous Starscream, he will never put his base in the United States state of Arizona after coming to Earth without any reason. Suburb of Tucson. No more information can be found online. Sun Cheng can only take the risk to sneak back to Tucson again, so as to sneak into the University of Arizona school and see if he can find more analysis reports about Beringer Crater. This is undoubtedly a very risky move. Yes, after the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base attack on the outskirts of Tucson and the theft of 4 nuclear warheads, the United States government has not hidden the investigation, but has never relaxed the investigation of the whole thing. Otherwise, he was not sure. Sun Cheng felt extremely irritable before he approached Tucson anyway. An uneasy feeling of unclear ambiguity kept warning him. After waiting for him to sneak into the city, he saw National Guard's armed infantry vehicles and helicopters frequenting everywhere in the city, and police patrol was even more commonplace. Therefore, Sun Cheng is also cautious and prudent, lest there may be a mistake. Spy template. After quickly capturing all of the nearby monitoring equipment information, Sun Cheng looked around and found that a big tree was not far from the school wall. His eyes shined. Quietly touching under the big tree, Sun Cheng jumped onto a branch of the big tree, and then he jumped again with the help of the branch. When he landed, he entered the campus of the University of Arizona inside. The University of Arizona is the first comprehensive research university in the state of Arizona. This public university receives nearly $700 million United States dollars in research funding from the United States National Science Foundation each year. The university's astronomy, geology, geography, civil engineering and other disciplines. Since the school was built, it has been very strong. This is also one of the reasons why Sun Cheng suspected that the scientific research team sent by the University of Arizona more than 90 years ago must have found some and so on when they arrived at Beringer Crater. The nightlife of United States college students is obviously very rich. Although it is already late at night, you can still see the students going in and out in groups of 3 or 4 from time to time on the campus, forcing them to want to be exposed and attracting vigilance in the vicinity. National Guard Sun Cheng had to be careful to avoid. After groping for a while in the campus, I finally found the school library. I accidentally found that only a common lock was hung on the door of the library, but this thing could not stop his invasion. The finger transformed into the keyhole, and the next moment lock was already opened. After entering, the door was closed again. Sun Cheng directly moved towards the administrator counter and walked past. After all, it is a world-famous library. The library of the University of Arizona is quite large. It is said that there are a total of 2.9472 million books and more than 30 million e-books. I want to find it in such a vast sea of books. It is quite difficult for him to check things again. 2 computers were placed on the counter of the administrator. After opening, Sun Cheng could invade the campus internet instantly, but he did not at all do so, but directly connected to the library's e-book library and began to search for the materials he needed. This search was more than half an hour. To his disappointment, Sun Cheng only found 2 names called Neville Ottavian Brewster and Wallace Wilson Claremont in the school history stored in the e-book library. According to the history of the University of Arizona, both of them are professors of this school. One of them is in geology and the other is in charge of geophysics and seismology. It is mentioned in the school history that the 2 of them initiated a scientific research in 1912, and subsequently resigned simultaneously in the second year, after which they missed. No matter how Sun Cheng searched, he couldn't find any more information about them. Unwilling to give up, Sun Cheng thought for a while, and locked the location of the school history and the University of Arizona geological survey data through the computer. He turned off the computer, first stored the school history on the 4th floor of the library, manually rummaging through the room for more than 2 hours. I only traced down, Wallace Wilson Claremont had a son named Benjamin Roddick Claremont. He then went to the bookcase where the geological materials were stored, and he carefully searched for each book one by one. In the end, Kung Fu paid no attention to people. In an autobiographical novel entitled Interesting Earth, donated by the alumni to the school, Sun Cheng found something very interesting to him. A classmate from Coconino County mentioned to me that there is an American Indian Holy Land in Flagstaff. It is said to be a bottomless hole a few kilometers wide. The superstitious American Indian legend says that the devil came earth. I haven't dared to get close there for thousands of years. I talked about this with Professor Brewster, and he was very interested and told me that it might be an unprecedented discovery. Yes, we call it academically. If the crater is really as legendary as the American Indian, it is very likely to be an unprecedented huge crater in the history of United States. In July 1912, Professor Brewster's application was approved, and he received a grant of $7 United States dollars, which was enough for him to go to Flagstaff on vacation. He sent me an invitation, but I want to buy a car, so I plan to spend the summer vacation part-time job. Professor Brewster was a little disappointed, but he understood. I didn't see Professor Brewster after the school started. I inquired about it and learned that he was still in Flagstaff and applied to the school again for $2,000 US. At the same time, Professor Claremont was also included in the expedition team. The rigid professor was gone. This is also good news. Christmas is approaching. Professor Brewster wrote to tell me that he was very happy. The report he submitted with Professor Claremont to the Geological Society of North America caused a huge sensation. Many people came from Philadelphia, New York and Washington. I also visited the professor's discovery in Flagstaff, especially the fascinating meteorite he mentioned repeatedly. He said that a gentleman named Philadelphia Vidern Mijos Lawson proposed to apply to the United States government to take it away and hide and study. Professor Brewster decided to leave. He asked me if he should study the meteorite with him, but my father hopes that I can go home and inherit his fertilizer plant, so I rejected him, which made him very sad. We have been in correspondence for several years, but only for 5 to 6 years. When I last asked him where he worked, and he told me Black Canyon, I never received a reply from him again. Beringer Crater, absolutely weird. Sun Cheng can't help got excited. The book he called Interesting Earth was an autobiographical novel by American pen name Bert Quinton. Returning to the administrator counter on the first floor with the book, he used a computer to check the internet and found that he could not search any information about Bert Quinton. Obviously, this is not a well-known United States author. However, this book has verified some of his ideas. The two professors mentioned in this book, Brewster and Claremont, should refer to the Neville Ottavian Brewster, and found by Sun Cheng just from the school history. Wallace Wilson Claremont. This book undoubtedly proves that the two did indeed conduct a scientific investigation on Beringer Crater in 2, and they definitely found a meteorite there, a meteorite that shocked everyone they saw. That meteorite must be weird, otherwise no one would suggest transferring it and hiding it for research. In this way, all scattered clues can be connected together. The two professors Brewster and Claremont resigned from the University of Arizona in the second year because of the intervention of the United States government. As the discoverer of the mysterious meteorite, the two of them joined a government agency and started meteorites have been studied. As for why Bert Quinton suddenly broke contact with Professor Brewster a few years later, it is probably because the other party exposed the location of the meteorite. Black Canyon. It seems necessary to go there. After carefully turning over the book and making sure that there is no longer any record about Beringer Crater, Sun Cheng quickly threw the book on the desk of the administrator next to it, and then searched the internet for information about Black Canyon. Within the United States there is no city with the name of Black Canyon, but there are two towns, one of which is located in state of Wyoming and the other is located in state of Colorado. Interestingly, he actually found that in addition to the small town, the junction of state of Nevada and state of Arizona, the canyon where Hoover Dam is located is also called Black Canyon. After memorizing the locations of the three found Black Canyon, Sun Cheng quickly turned off the computer. Hoover Dam. It doesn't seem to be far from Onslaught's base. Thoughts move. He already has a decision, ready to run to Hoover Dam first. By the way, he also planned to go back to Onslaught first. After continuous exploration in the past few days, Sun Cheng also felt that the new mechanical body was stronger and stronger, but it was not so perfect. There were several minor problems. He was going to let Onslaught help change it yourself. I finally found a little suspicious clue about Allspark, which made his mood start to get better, and soon left the University of Arizona. Avoiding National Guard who is still patrolling the street, Sun Cheng deliberately chose the area where the base away from Starscream is located, preparing to spend a little time leaving the city of Tucson from the other direction. Shortly after leaving the University of Arizona, he found some clues and couldn't help but relax his vigilance. As a result, when passing by a street, he accidentally exposed himself to a camera that was placed in the corner in front of the meter machine. DDDD. When the machine suddenly issued a violent DD prompt tone, Sun Cheng suddenly felt a sudden increase in the sense of crisis in his heart. He reacted and subconsciously glanced at the machine when he saw a sign marked 21 feet, and after constantly shaking the pointer, his spy template immediately caught the fluctuations from several monitoring devices. Warning, warning, the D4G19 area radiation detector has captured the energy anomaly's target. 20 to 30 meters away, Sun Cheng thought it was a general-purpose commercial vehicle parked normally on the side of the road. The car door was quickly opened after a harsh communication wave was suddenly sent out, and Sun Cheng immediately saw 3 people. The strong men in black suits rushed towards him with arms. Found suspicious target. The leading black-clothed person saw at a glance that there was nowhere to hide from Sun Cheng. I saw him rushing towards Sun Cheng while alerting, and he never forgot to threaten. This is the United States Sector 7 office. Suspicious intruder, stay there and don't move. Bad. Sun Cheng's heart sank. Before entering the city, he found that the United States National Guard was on guard in Tucson, but he did not expect that American could actually detect the Decepticon machine in such a short time. However, he was not planning to be caught by the United States government to pull out the dissection study. After quickly starting all the functions of spy template, he immediately changed back from robot mode to beast mode. Just run. Damn, he wants to run. The black-clothed person immediately shouted, and at the same time raised .45 in his hand, aimed at Sun Cheng and fired, . The clear sound of gunfire quickly caused a lot of commotion in the vicinity. But Sun Cheng's troubles also came up. Just after throwing away the black-clothed persons at speed, he soon heard the harsh rumbling sound from the sky, and soon after, a few striking high-altitude exposures. The lamp has locked him. Warning, intruder, stop and run away immediately, stay there and don't move. Here is the last warning, stop the resistance immediately, stay there and don't move. All warning units noticed that a suspected high-energy radiation target was found in the D4G19 area, and the target was fleeing to the D5 area as much as possible. Spy template. After catching communication telegrams from the surrounding humans, Sun Cheng was terrified to find that although he quickly increased his speed to the limit, it was difficult for ground units in the urban area to lock himself. But the American armed reconnaissance aircraft from above the sky can use the advantages of high altitude and high maneuverability to lock his position deadly and continuously shoot him from above the sky. It's hard to hurt Sun Cheng's current mechanical body from the flaming tongue above the sky. The other party obviously realized this after he resisted several times, but he still didn't change other weapons. Obviously, he was determined to catch him alive. Idea. After he carried it a few times, after being keenly aware that the mechanical body was overwhelming, Sun Cheng felt anxious and finally began to avoid it consciously. Only in this way, his escape speed was affected. Bang. Finally, after several warnings did not stop him, he saw that he was getting closer and closer to the suburbs, and the threat from the sky began to escalate. Along with the violent explosion, Sun Cheng took a close-up of a surface-to-air missile and was blown over the ground several times before falling back to the ground. It seems to be determined that he does not have combat capability. One of the armed helicopters lowered some heights and continued to shout at him, "Last warning, intruder, stop the resistance immediately, stay there and don't move." Sun Cheng shook his head, and after detecting that the mechanical body was torn by a shrapnel, he could not feel the pain and tore the shrapnel pierced into the mechanical body. Seeing 2 armed helicopters circling around him constantly in the sky, there were 4 more coming in the distance, and his heart was inwardly shouted. His eyes suddenly found that there was a manhole cover not far away, and he quickly released an insect scout. After Bian Fei went to investigate, his eyes immediately lit up. I have to admit that Lao Mei's urban underground pipeline project has done a very good job. The 4-way, 8-way system almost runs through the entire urban area. For example, Tucson, this old city, is more secure. At the moment, he immediately summoned 2 rapid-fire machine guns from the mechanical body and aimed at the armed reconnaissance aircraft whose height was reduced to a very low level. After a precise burst of fire, Sun Cheng jumped again and quickly ran to the underground pipeline. The manhole cover suddenly changed back to robot mode, dragged the manhole cover and threw it, and jumped into the sewer. After all, it is a sewer, a place to hide dirt. Although Decepticon's mechanical body does not have humans' respiratory system, it doesn't feel the pungent smell that may exist. But Sun Cheng doesn't think that the sewers where rats and cockroaches scramble around would be a good place, especially when a cockroach accidentally flew on his face. But now it's important to escape. Now he immediately switched back to beast mode and quickly moved towards the center of the city. The reason why he fled towards the city center instead of the suburbs is that although he is now closer to the suburbs, he just chased down such a big movement just now, and Sun Cheng has no doubt that he has attracted the entire Tucson vigilance force to the suburbs. Go with the logic of normal people's thinking, he would definitely think that after diving into the sewer, he would continue to escape towards the suburbs. So at this time, he suddenly escaped in the opposite direction, and the escape probability was greater. As for the detection device in American hands, he was not very worried. Although Tucson's sewers were well repaired, he was not luxurious enough to allow human to chase him on a motorcycle. Therefore, even if they had a detection device, and finally found his direction of escape, it was already difficult to catch up with him again. Sure enough, more than 40 minutes later, when Sun Cheng jumped out of the suburban sewer pipe in the other direction, he never met the person who surrounded him. The thrilling Tucson trip almost didn't scare him. Fortunately, Sun Cheng was smart enough. After successfully escaping, he went all the way north and raised his speed to the limit. After a few hours, he arrived in the northern city of state of Arizona, Flagstaff. The Beringer crater he is tracking now is located in Flagstaff. Although after many years, he doesn't even think he can leave any clues here, but with the luck of not killing, Sun Cheng ran away. A trip. Beringer crater, located on the desert plateau southeast of Flagstaff. Just like most of the state of Arizona, the climate here is dry and desolate. With the previous encounter at Tucson, Sun Cheng's character is undoubtedly more cautious. Before he arrived at Beringer crater, he released 2 sets of insect scouts to carry out some investigations in the vicinity to confirm that there was no ambush or other human. Later, it quickly approached this crater. I have to admit that when watching the Beringer crater close by, Sun Cheng was also taken aback. 1.2 kilometers in diameter and 150 meters deep, calculated by impact strength, this must be at least a huge meteorite with a diameter of 30 to 40 meters. However, shocked by the power of the meteorite, some data was quickly calculated after close observation, and Sun Cheng could not help but a thought flashed through the mind. A huge meteorite dropping from the sky 10,000 years ago, even though it shattered and weathered when it fell, its size is probably not too small. With the capacity of United States construction machinery more than 90 years ago, it is also difficult to transport it. Go farther, unless it is by water. As far as he knows, the 2 Black Canyon towns of state of Wyoming and state of Colorado, one is on the plateau and the other is at the foot of the mountain. Both towns have one thing in common, that is, they are very far away. In contrast, the Black Canyon at the junction of state of Nevada and state of Arizona is much closer. Apart from this, from Flagstaff to Black Canyon, there are almost unobstructed rivers for water transportation. If Sun Cheng chooses, he will choose to transport the meteorite there more than 90 years ago. The premise is that the meteorite must be Allspark, otherwise he simply can't think of why Americans spend so much money to transport a large stone from a place that is not easily exposed to another place that is even less exposed. Go, even if it is a meteorite. After turning around the crater for a while, Sun Cheng even went down to the crater and searched carefully for a while. Sure enough, he could not find any useful clues as expected. He did not feel disappointed. After all, since the meteorite was transported away, more than 90 years have passed, and time has long erased all possible clues. Flagstaff is already not far from the base of Onslaught in the Great Valley, just over 300 to 400 kilometers. For Sun Cheng, who has lifted the danger warning and slowed down, it is only 2-3 hours. A few hours later, he had arrived at the Great Valley and re-entered the base of Onslaught. Sir Onslaught, I'm here to disturb. On the platform outside the base, a communication right was first sent to Onslaught in the cave. Sun Cheng also knew that there were surveillance devices placed on the platform by Onslaught. Although the location was very concealed, it could not hide the equipment spy template his. After reminding the other party, he was about to go in and suddenly received the other party's communication, has found a clue about Allspark. No, I'm still investigating. I came here this time because of the past few days. I found some deficiencies in the mechanical body. I would like to ask Sir Onslaught to help me deal with it. Because it has not been determined whether the meteorite in Beringer crater is Allspark, Sun Cheng did not mention it. He didn't want to, but he sent the communication to him, and soon received a reply from the other party. Not found. Don't bother me if you don't find it. Get out. An icy reply from Onslaught made Sun Cheng, who had just entered the cave a few steps, couldn't help but stopped and froze there. For a moment it seemed to fall into the ice cave, and it was cold from the inside out. Although I guessed it before, Onslaught will help myself transform the mechanical body. The purpose is just like Starscream, in order to use his intelligence search expertise to do things for himself. But compared to Barricade, Starscream, Soundwave, Spectro, Laserbeak and the others, since crossed over to this world, Sun Chang's longest contact with Decepticon is Onslaught. I saw him talking very well most of the time before, so that Sun Chang also selectively ignored the other party as Barricade, Starscream, Soundwave, they are all Decepticon. In addition to improving their strength, there is only conspiracy, calculation and destroyed robotic organisms. They have completely different values and attitudes towards life with human. The faint sense of closeness to Onslaught in my heart also disappeared in this indifferent reply. Did I think too much? I really can only rely on myself in this world. Sun Chang stayed quietly at the cave entrance for a while before reluctantly adjusting his mood, and then walked back without saying anything. He jumped off the platform and drove off the platform to the state of the Black Canyon, at the junction of Nevada and state of Arizona, hurried away. When it comes to Black Canyon near state of Nevada and state of Arizona, say big not big, say small is not small. Sun Chang surveyed before coming here. Black Canyon covers an area of 100 square kilometers, but most of the surrounding areas are dry desert areas, which are easy to rule out under a desolation. After arriving at Black Canyon, he only wandered around for a long time. After Sun Chang discovered that the clue had been completely cut off, he had no choice but to turn his attention to the most famous Hoover Dam here. Since you're here, why don't you go check it out? Anyway, you won't lose a hair. Although it is suspected that the Black Canyon mentioned by Professor Brewster, who once worked in the University of Arizona, is here, but for Hoover Dam, he did not think too much. After all, according to the clues he investigated, the mysterious meteorite found in Beringer crater was transported around 1913, while the Hoover Dam was only started to be built during the economic crisis of the United States after 20 years, between the years alone, there is a gap of nearly 20 years. How can he open his brain? He can't think of two things together. Is it wrong? Black Canyon mentioned by Professor Brewster, simply not here. With the already dark sky, Sun Chang quietly approached Hoover Dam, but in his heart can't help murmured. In the past few hours, with the super high mobility of the new mechanical body, he has ran all the suspected places nearby, but he has never been able to find any suspicious places, which makes him a little disappointed. I just got into the dark within 2 kilometers of Hoover Dam, and suddenly felt that spy template within the body captured the surveillance equipment, and cautiously he stopped suddenly. After hesitating for a while, Sun Chang released 2 sets of insect scouts and flew towards Hoover Dam. Now, even the Onslaught base, which he thought he could temporarily use as his half-supply station, now he can't go easily. Losing the supply point, in addition to bullets, Sun Chang can also sneak into the weapon shop in Rodden Street, United States and use it for another. His other reliance, Insert Scout, is to use one less one. This thing is simply a one-time function. Although it is strong, it can't help but its range is only 10 kilometers, the battery life is too short, and there is almost no probability of recycling. 2 sets of scouts are very conscientious little by little close to Hoover Dam, and transfer the captured image one after another back. So much surveillance equipment is installed near Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam is not far away. On the top of the steep mountainside of the canyon, Sun Chang carefully investigated Hoover Dam with the aid of the Insect Scout released, and he began to hesitate to visit Hoover Dam at night. After reading through the data received by Insect Scout, he was surprised to find that within 2 kilometers near Hoover Dam, Insect Scout has successively captured 2 groups of surveillance equipment, which is even denser than the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base he had invaded before. It should be said that Hoover Dam worthily is a vital water conservancy hub on the Colorado River. In addition to the intensive monitoring equipment, Insect Scout found that there are as many as 100 security personnel stationed around the dam. Judging from the images taken by Insect Scout, the security personnel near the dam were not only equipped with a large number of light and heavy weapons, but even anti-aircraft missiles were captured by him. Worthily is United States' important water conservancy hub. This defense is also worthy of Hoover Dam. I watched the 2 sets of Insect Scout Energon that I released and it was almost used up. Sun Chang thought about it, and it had already come. I simply ordered them to continue the investigation and let them go directly through the elevator passage and the exhaust pipe entered the dam and probed. Like most countries, Hoover Dam also allows tourists to visit. I heard the tickets are still very cheap, open 7 days a week. It's just that Sun Chang looks like this now, and it's estimated that people have seen a lot of shouting and killing. Non my family, grab dissection. This should be the common reaction of all Earth countries when they see the alien life, and the other party is still a robot. A group of insect scouts that went down the elevator to the inside of the dam didn't find anything more. The dam's internal scenes were basically found on the internet. Sun Chang has almost seen them. It is intentionally directed to turn around in areas where visitors are not allowed to enter. Who knows that its energon has been exhausted and does not know which corner it fell into. It is another group of insect scouts. Through an exhaust pipe, they actually directly entered the prohibited open area inside the dam. As a result, many images were transmitted back. What even Sun Chang did not expect was that it finally sent back a set of images before energon was exhausted, which surprised him. Wait, in the mountains next to Hoover Dam hide several passages. The discovery of insect scouts suddenly surprised Sun Chang. According to his investigation, the mountains near Hoover Dam are mostly hard andesite and breccia. Passages were opened at this place. Passages are large and small, and the small ones are obviously for human in and out of the office, but some of the huge passages have rails laid, which are obviously used for transporting large machinery. This discovery immediately interested him. Strange, are these facilities really needed for a water conservancy project? It looks more like a large military base, isn't it? Suddenly realizing that he might have followed the clue again, Sun Chang endured his inner excitement and quietly avoided one monitoring device after another, descending all the way from the top of sheer cliffs and precipitous rock faces, and quickly reached the dam. There is a spillway at the bottom. The spillway can lead to the interior of Hoover Dam, except that there are 3 gates in the middle to prevent the water from pouring back into the dam during the flood. However, this is not a problem for Sun Chang, because this is the flood season of the Colorado River in April and May, and Hoover Dam will almost always carry out small-scale flooding at night, which gives him the opportunity to allow Sun Chang to quietly discharge from the spillway. Sneak inside. Just do it. Although the water column spewing from the spillway made him scalp numb, but after using the core to calculate the impact and finding that he was fully impacted and not washed away, he jumped into the spillway. For the first time, due to insufficient preparation, the jet of water sprayed on the head rushed out of the spillway and fell to the bottom. After crawling out again, this time, he remembered quickly transform back beast mode. After looking at the position, he jumped in again, and just as soon as he entered the spillway, he inserted the front paw fiercely into the wall within the body. Boom! The oncoming water rushed suddenly, and his mechanical body also shook with it, but this time Sun Chang was well prepared, but he was not afraid of being hit again. At the moment, he forced to move forward steadily with one step at a time. The short spillway of 110 meters cost him energon 3-4 points, which finally came to an end. Coup pass. After crossing the first gate through the spillway, Sun Chang entered a huge water tank, which is the dam's transit water storage place. Although it is tightly closed, there are still several pipes that can leave. After judging for a while according to the direction of the water, Sun Chang entered one of the pipes. He crawled forward for several thousand meters. He experienced 10 climbs, descents and circles in the middle, in many storage tanks, and then groping around for a while, Sun Chang quickly forcibly broke the locked exit above the storage tank and finally entered the dam. The next moment, a strange energon fluctuation coming from afar, immediately stimulated his core to jump violently. It's not wrong, this seems to make life and soul sublimated, it's Allspark. Allspark. It was really Allspark. When Sun Chang just came out of the storage tank, he felt a faintly discernible wonderful energon fluctuation, which constantly came from a distance, and his core almost started to appear chaotic, and Sun Chang almost jumped up in excitement. Allspark, Allspark. Planet Cybertron legendary supreme sacred artifact. According to Onslaught, it is Decepticon's source of life and well of all sparks, and has the power to let any Decepticon evolve to a higher level. When he thought that he could finally get rid of the threat of Soundwave, and at the same time let his inside core of the body evolve to a higher level, he can't help excited. Jumping out of the water storage tank quickly, Sun Cheng cautiously hid in a dead end of the water storage tank. Although he wanted to fly to Allspark immediately, he could still think calmly. Hoover Dam has other things underneath. As he speculated, American discovered Allspark that fell on Earth more than 90 years ago and secretly transported it here to study. Then the ability of Allspark was exposed, which is also very good. Probably. As a result, even if it is not a heavily organized place, it is impossible to run with strict defense. To be cautious, he first released several sets of insect scouts, let them detect in the direction of sensing Allspark energon fluctuation, and by the way, he also touched the defensive situation for him. Soon, the continuously image was transferred from Insect Scout. The place where Sun Cheng is now is obviously at least a few kilometers away from Hoover Dam. This is a huge base with bright lights. Insect Scout found several huge workshop-like factories in just a few minutes. Full of machinery. Not only can you see gun guards patrolling back and forth, but also workers and technical staff wearing various status tokens can come in and out. Controlling one of the Insect Scouts close to the technical staff, after a little observation, he was surprised to find that this base is full of engineers in the fields of energy, mechanical equipment manufacturing, metal materials, artificial intelligence, and computers. The Senior Technical Staff Division said that this is the United States' second-to-none advanced research center, and he absolutely believes it. Sector 7, does this mean here? Insect Scout saw this word on the badge of a manager. Sun Cheng looked thoughtful in his heart. Speaking of which, not long ago, when he sneaked into Tucson to search for clues about Allspark, he was accidentally detected by a strange detector. At that time, several black-clothed persons quickly appeared nearby. He remembered those the black-clothed person claimed to be from Sector 7. Sun Cheng thought it was because he and the others before Onslaught exposed the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and the United States government was able to produce detection equipment for Decepticon in just half a month. Now think about it, if Planet Cybertron's technology can be cracked by American in such a short time, the plugins of this country are too big. Insect Scout quickly confirmed that American has noticed the special impact of Allspark on electronic equipment, so they not only built a thick anti-radiation isolation wall with metal lead, but also artificially created a section of electromagnetic interference behind the wall, the protective zone, so that the Insect Scout he released could not be close to Allspark, so he completely collapsed into the electromagnetic interference zone. However, the Array Insert Scout was released successively, but it also made him understand the patrol rate and route of the guards. Soon after formulating a safer route for himself, Sun Cheng did not delay and immediately ran away in the direction of move towards Allspark. Running all the way, using the high-speed mobility of the new mechanical body, he ran fast. Thanks to all kinds of machinery everywhere in this base, although there are many staff members, after all, with the help of Spy Template plus Insect Scout, Sun Cheng can always find the blind spot before exposure. Therefore, he didn't expose himself until he broke through the lead wall. After rushing head-on into the electromagnetic interference zone, Sun Cheng's face can't help with a painful expression. For Decepticon, this robotic organisms, electromagnetic interference is undoubtedly the lowest cost-oriented solution. The mechanical body of Decepticon is covered with various circuits and silicon crystals. Although it is more advanced than that manufactured by human, it will still suffer from electromagnetic interference, but to varying degrees, that's all. Tolerating the tingling sensation in his head, in order to rush out of the interference zone as soon as possible, Sun Cheng can no longer ignore the hidden figure, and almost instantly raised his speed to the limit, just like a high-speed fast runaway cars generally rush out of the electromagnetic interference zone. Bang! After rushing out of the interference zone, there was some confusion in his head. Sun Cheng had not yet reacted, and he felt something was knocked out by himself. He shook his head, and soon core finally worked normally. He looked intently, and the first thing he saw was a huge cube outside the dose meters, and he felt attentively what was emitted from the cube. Can't help excited to the horror of trembling energon, isn't it Allspark? Reluctant to leave, had to take back his sight. Sun Cheng knew that although he was only a few steps away from Allspark, he was in big trouble. A nearby bloodstain, and a corpse next to him, and a white nervous man wearing a hard hat and nervous, a few steps away from him, all proved one thing: Sun Cheng exposed. NBE, non-biological extraterrestrial, or life form outside Earth. Although came back to his senses a little later than him, the white engineer immediately shouted in a panic and sharp voice. Sun Cheng's heart sank. Immediately changing back to robot mode, he raised his right palm and aimed at the white engineer, who found himself using the rapid-fire machine gun 2 that was exposed in his palm to shoot with precision and sent him to see God. However, his goal was achieved. The mournful scream and the sudden sound of gunshots quickly made a group of technical staff who were studying it near Allspark react. After they noticed Sun Cheng by the sound, they either shouted for help or screamed. Escape. The sharp red alarm sounded immediately. Damn, I'm running out of time. Realizing the seriousness of the problem, Sun Cheng resisted the impulse to turn his head and fled, and ran for a while towards the huge Allspark not far away. Soon he realized how correct his decision was. When Sun Cheng came only 3 to 5 meters away from Allspark, he clearly felt that energon was pouring in from Allspark towards his mechanical body, and for a moment he only felt as if he was in a hot spring. Among them, the whole body is warm and comfortable. And when he finally arrived in front of Allspark and impatient reached out to touch it, Allspark's all around blue lighting jumped frantically, including Sun Cheng. Energon, which is even more violent, has a great power that he can't even say clearly. With a huge amount of information, he madly poured into the mechanical body of Sun Cheng. After a short cycle, he began to locate in his brain core collection. Along with the tingling pains of crushing his consciousness, next moment, a violent dizzy hit my heart. Sun Cheng finally remembers where he is now, so he tried his best to prevent himself from fainting. The whole process lasted for a few minutes, until he felt that there was no more energon and information pouring into his within the body. He hesitated to draw back his arm that was like a magnet attracted from the beginning. Calling core subconsciously, I want to feel the changes in myself. When a piece of information suddenly feeds back from core to Sun Cheng's head, his eyes suddenly open wide, and can't help exclaimed, "Spark." When I hurried back from Tucson, Seymour Simmons' senior agent looked very ugly. Damn it, it really gave a Sector 7 a long face. So many people surrounded an NBE, and finally let it run. Simmons, they have done their best. Tom Banachek, who is in charge of the Sector 7 Advanced Research Division, comforted the old friend, but the smile on his face was somewhat reluctant. It's terrible, I said. Tom, we're probably in big trouble. You didn't go to Tucson and you didn't see the crimes committed by NBE. I dare say that even a whole army from Russia or China can't to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base create that scale of attack. Quote. Simmons shook his head violently, his expression irritated. Damn it, Mr. President also asked us to find those NBEs hidden in the United States within a month. But you have seen the video I just brought from Tucson. Those disgusting machines will also transform. Quote. Tom nodded. The expression is very helpless. This is also a problem he is very worried about. As one of the senior person in charge of Sector 7, he not only personally led the team to study the alien meteorite for many years, but Tom is also no stranger to the everyone who issued the modern number NBE-01 at Arctic. However, after so many years of research, Sector 7 has only mastered a little superficial knowledge. But if that were the case, they would not be too sad. Because with the continuous advancement of technology, the pioneers of Sector 7 even found a small particle from the surface armor of its mechanical body 10 years ago when NBE-01 was first discovered, but now, it can rely on more advanced scanning equipment to complete its general structure scan. But, it seems that God does not intend to continue to give them time. Now suddenly I do know where I came from, and some NBEs may have come from the same place as the NBE-01 being held by them. Even worse, they attacked 2 United States military bases and stole 4 nuclear warheads. Those alien robotic organisms that are respectless of the law and of natural morality are not only powerful and crazy, heaven knows that the 4 nuclear warheads are in their hands, and where they will be used tomorrow. White House cannot rest or eat in peace. Washington's insiders are now like scared cats. Tom summoned a trip to Pentagon 2 days ago. I still remember that Secretary of Defense was on his way. A sentence said before. Perhaps tomorrow, there will be no more civilization on Earth, and now America's nuclear weapons are waiting for launch orders at any time. Hell, he can't help his old friend Simmons also cursed, only to feel extremely tired. I want to find an unknown number of outer space autonomous robotic organisms on the huge United States of America, and the other party also has a transformation function. Thinking of this, his face collapsed a bit, and he can only helplessly say to Simmons, "Seymour, you will be affected next." Before the words were finished, suddenly the alarm sounded loudly in the base. Tom was taken aback, but his side Simmons reacted first, and the complexion greatly changed, shouting, "What's the situation? Is there a fire?" An agent under his staff took out the phone and asked the command room, and his face palely replied, "PB Pandora's Box laboratory was invaded, the other party was NBE." Hell, Simmons pulled a weapon from his waist and shouted at the surroundings, "Scoundrel, still standing here stunned. Quickly raise the security in the base to the highest level, send some people to NBE-01 hangar, don't let intruder get close to it. Order the guard to dispatch all, and everyone will follow me." Yes, When the new core data was fed back into his mind, Sun Cheng was almost excited to jump. Frenzy. Intelligence expert. Close black lens bracket. Faction. Decepticon Cassette Legion. Close black lens bracket. Energon. 2,750,027,500. Close black lens bracket. Height. 189.5 centimeters. Weight. 417.12 kilogram. Close black lens bracket. Core. Level 3 strengthened spy spark. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket equipment. 2 5.56 mm caliber rapid fire machine guns, 397 special armor piercings, 8 advanced insect scouts. Close black lens bracket. Status. Good. Close black lens bracket. Should the truth be worthily as planet Cybertron's sacred artifact, Allspark. A brief contact made Sun Cheng complete a thorough promotion, which was not the same as the mechanical body transformation effect that Onslaught had done for him not long ago. The strength on the mechanical body is obvious. The mechanical body that Onslaught designed for him before is not bad, but there are also many shortcomings. Under the effect of Allspark, and not to mention the strength of his mechanical body has been improved, the 2 rapid-fire machine guns that make him love and hate can finally launch energon bullets directly like Laserbeak and Spectro 2. Several hundred pieces of human ammunition stored within the body have also been transformed into special armor piercing. Apart from this, the most exciting thing for him should be the last remaining 8 sets of insect scouts in his mechanical body. Under the strength of Allspark, not only did the detection radius increase from the original 10 km to 100 km, but also the endurance ability climbed straight up. This undoubtedly made Sun Cheng's intelligence collection ability reach a new level. Of course, the improvement in the mechanical body, compared with his core change, is nothing. Sun Cheng was very excited to find that his core has finally evolved from a low-rank template to Spark. Spark, the symbol of high-rank Decepticon. Not only does it have terrible information processing capabilities, but its stored energon is also dozens or even 100 times higher than a low-rank Decepticon. Like his non-combat unit Advanced Spark, the stored energon is more than 20 times larger than the previously modified spy template by Onslaught. Sun Cheng finally understands why in Barricade, Onslaught, Soundwave, Starscream and the others in his eyes, he was just a trash that could be called. Because the gap is too big. Compared with the template, the strength that Spark has brought him is too obvious. With his current mechanical body, it still takes 6-7 days to consume 1 point to store energon. It is conceivable that he now enters the battle even with full firepower. Among them, it was far from the previous few shots and then withered. Allspark is more magical than he could have guessed before. After upgrading his core from Spy template to Spark, all the functions of the original template have been strengthened. In addition, Grand Sun Cheng has also obtained a new function, a function imitation transforming that only high-rank Decepticon with Spark has. With the ability to scan the abnormal structure brought by Spark, high-rank Decepticon can complete the structural scanning of overwhelming majority machines in a very short time, and reverse derivation through Spark, and finally make its transformation the target to be imitated. Of course, although this function is abnormal, it is not without limitations. Imitation transforming is limited by the strength of the mechanical body and the performance of Spark. For example, if he already owns Beast Mode and wants to use the imitation transforming function, he must give up Beast Mode. Because the transformation of the simulation of the new form involves a major change in the overall structure of the mechanical body, unless his spark performance is more powerful, and the mechanical body is also specially designed to bear more changes in the form, otherwise multiple transformation schemes cannot be saved simultaneously. He was awakened by a shot that was studying Spark Sun Chang, and came back to his senses. He immediately saw a group of fully armed base guard soldiers wearing black combat uniforms rushing towards him. Trouble. Sun Chang frowned, glanced at the huge Allspark in front of him unwillingly and took it away, but found that it was too big to take away. Allspark, the improvement of his strength is not just a one-off. It is not unreasonable that Decepticon recognizes it as a sacred artifact. Because Sun Chang can only accept so much at this stage, a little more energon and information will exceed the limit of his current mechanical body and core. However, this also means that one day in the future, when Sun Chang completely digested the gifts of Allspark, fully mastered Spark, and obtained a more powerful mechanical body, he can also use Allspark again promoted. Forget it, Allspark is so big that even human can't move it easily, just store it here first. Compared to human, Sun Chang is also not worried about Decepticon. So after hesitating for a moment, he had already made a choice in his heart. At the moment, Sun Chang does not transform back beast mode, and when he raises his hand, he aligns the rapid-fire machine gun in his palm that has also received strengthening with the base guards in a hurry. Quote, with the splash of blood, his face was cold and sinister. Calm in his heart, he was ready to kill a blood road charge ahead. Is the response fast? Seeing more and more base guards coming, dense hail of bullets kept shooting at him, but Sun Chang can't help in the heart sneer. With his current mechanical body strength, even an aircraft gun with a caliber of more than 20 mm that is famous for formidable power, it is necessary to focus on the armor of his mechanical body for several consecutive shots before it can cause damage. For individual weapons, I am afraid that apart from a few such as anti-materiel sniper rifle, no one here can stop him from leaving. Realizing this, Sun Chang's speed has not decreased but increased. This is American's research base. It is hard to say whether some disgusting weapons could be left behind. After all, Allspark has fallen into American hands for almost a century. They even made machines that can detect Decepticon energon fluctuations. 10,000. If there is anything that can hurt their black technology weapons, it is not worth the loss. 2. Take the line of defense. Go and bring Bradley over. Stop him, don't let him get close to the shed. Explosion, damn, our weapons can't wear its armor. Along with the explosions all the way, Sun Chang pushed forward frantically. After awakening the rapid-fire machine gun hidden in his left arm, he opened the frame left and right and swept all the way, taking almost a few lives for almost every burst. Enjoying the unbridled thrill of destruction, after rushing out of the electromagnetic interference zone again, kicked a base guards holding a riot shield on the ground, and fell heavily on the ground, after there was no more noise. Somehow, Sun Chang suddenly had some sorrow in his mind. Human is really a fragile creature. He glanced indifferently at the human with fear in each and every one around him, inexplicably feeling a little sad. Look at the people in this United States secret research base, which is not the United States elite, either the technical master or the elite army, which is much brighter than he is in the real world. But what about that? In front of the powerful alien life, Decepticon, no matter how strong their intelligence is, they can't cover the fragile fatal weakness of the body. A bullet, or even a black blade, can easily be harvested away. Too weak. The sudden resonance of sadness in my heart made Sun Chang finally stop being excited because he got Spark. With a little complicated emotion in his eyes, he glanced at the human who feared him like a devil around him, transformed again to beast mode, rushed towards the entrance of the base with all your strength. Simmons finally saw the appearance of intruder. When he led the team through the new power research center, heavy collisions and screams came from the passage not far away, and they immediately raised their arms. Oh, damn it, it's it, Ghost of Tucson. Simmons has good eyesight, or he did spend a lot of time to repeatedly study the mechanical body of Sun Chang's clear image that was captured in Tucson. So when he appeared, Simmons recognized him from a similar outline, although the size in beast mode changed a bit. Explosion, stop it from escaping. With dozens of people forming a dense fire line, Simmons shouted and commanded, and at the same time did not forget to shoot Sun Cheng with everyone constantly, apparently trying to stop him from moving forward, or even catch him alive. But he was about to be disappointed soon. When he saw Sun Cheng rushing toward himself and the others without losing his speed, Simmons' face was very ugly. He quickly waved and shouted, "No, avoid it." Two black-clothed agents who couldn't escape were hit by Sun Cheng's huge impact force. One smashed a bunch of supplies boxes not far away, and one fell heavily after hitting a wall, all of which were out of breath more and less recently. It seems that it is almost alive. Use freezing gun. Freeze it with freezing gun. Following the orders of unwilling Simmons, several black-clothed agents holding a freezing gun kept holding several weird weapons in an attempt to spray liquid helium onto Sun Cheng's mechanical body. Get out of the way. After being caught in a mechanical body frozen by liquid helium for a while, Sun Cheng was furious. Two machine guns were immediately stretched out on the outer wall of the two sides of the forelimb, and they shot at the Sector 7 agents who were trying to catch him alive. Da 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 da. Every time Energon bullet from Cybertron Technologies hits a target, it will easily take away a fresh life, and he will soon defeat these black-clothed agents who are trying to stop himself from going forward. After activating the mechanical body and restoring the frozen part, Sun Cheng glanced at the corner and stared blankly at his Simmons. After making a sneering expression on him, he continued to rush towards the entrance of the base. The closer to the entrance, the stronger the counterattack from base guards. In order to avoid a few rounds of rifle grenade being forcibly stopped, the M61 Vulcan next intensively sounded. In the next moment let Sun Cheng see the power of human. Da 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 da. After dozens of Gatling gun bullets of at least 30 mm caliber continuously hit the forelegs and left several cracks on it, Sun Cheng had to evade temporarily. The guards in the base have fully reacted at this time. They equipped a large number of heavy weapons. They apparently proceeded from Sun Cheng, and calculated his idea that he might have to escape. Stand up. Not to mention, this really blocked Sun Cheng. A set of insect scouts was released. When he saw dozens of armed Hummers and several M2 Bradleys blocking his way forward, his brows slightly wrinkle, especially those M2 Bradleys, equipped with TOW anti-tank missiles. Even Barricade's mechanical body can be torn after eating hard, not to mention that he is still some distance away from Barricade. Fortunately, although Sun Cheng does not have Barricade's military force, he is not too bad after having obtained Spark. With the help of the evolved insect scout, Sun Cheng unexpectedly discovered that the base guard's strength was concentrated on the route through one of the exits, but after almost no defense in the other direction, he immediately changed his route. At the moment, he directed the insect scout to explore the other side with little defense, and soon found that there was also an exit to the outside of the base. He jumped up and tried to add a few more to the mechanical body. The cost of the rift destroyed the two large caliber M61 Vulcan that made him most afraid before he continued to rush to the exit. After 7 to 8 minutes, he had transformed back to robot mode and kicked open the closed door. He walked out of the elevator in the face of dense bullets, and he was in a garrison camp near Hoover Dam. Sun Cheng raised his hand with just a few shots and added a few lives. When he walked out of the room where the elevator was placed, he glanced around inadvertently. After his eyes suddenly caught a silhouette of a blue-gray, he can't help and looked closer. His face could not help showing a weird expression. MQ-9 Reaper drone. Didn't expect the US military actually arranged a. Despite the intensive footsteps, vigilance and shouts captured from nearby, Sun Cheng did not rush to leave. After looking at the MQ-9 Reaper drone parked in the camp for a while, he relied on Spark's computing power to find that he could imitation transforming. After all, he couldn't resist his yearning for the sky. I immediately gave up my beast mode transformation, which also didn't last long, and chose to scan this Reaper drone. Tens of seconds later, a brand new Reaper drone suddenly rose from the camp and soon disappeared into the night sky. Once again awakened from his sleep, President Cheney's complexion is gloomy as ugly, but he did not at all attack, but silently put on a pajamas and walked out. Speak, what's wrong? He asked his secretary angrily, even though he had worked hard to control his emotions, but Cheney was still angry. Every United States president will have multiple secretaries during his tenure. Some of them are specifically responsible for news presentations, some manage social affairs for him, and some take care of document organization. Of course, there is also a confidential secretary who reports important events. Segesta, recommended by the National Security Council, is Cheney's second confidential secretary. Seeing Cheney showing a stinky face, Segesta, as if not seeing it, took a document from the password briefcase he carried with him, then handed it respectfully to his hand, and immediately returned to his place, waiting for Cheney commanded. Cheney glanced over and hurled fiercely and threw the file to the desk next to him. Sector 7 has also been hacked. Banachek just promised me on the front foot. What happened in the future? He must not be angry. Although Cheney had contacted some time ago, Cheney has already understood Sector 7's existence history, significance and contribution to the United States, but such a special organization with high confidentiality and even president cannot easily intervene. I believe anyone the United States president will not be willing to let it go and save myself. In fact, Cheney is already preparing to deal with Sector 7. In his opinion, Sector 7 can be preserved, but it must be under the direct management of the government, and its huge research base has to be split out of a large part. Cheney couldn't believe how Roosevelt allowed Sector 7 to form and recruit agents, security, and guards. When he learned that Sector 7 would withdraw $10 billion United States dollars from the fiscal appropriation in the name of special government funding every year, although the Sector 7 person in charge named Tom Banachek left him a good impression, but Cheney's thoughts of dissolving Sector 7 were already unbearable. Mr. President, it is clear that the existence of Sector 7 has been exposed. Do we need to transfer the important research items inside? Segesta is a member of the National Security Council and is one of Cheney's important aides and members of the Shadow Cabinet, so he has long learned from President Cheney about Sector 7. It's hard. Cheney shook the head. Banachek mentioned to me that the alien meteorite located in PB Labs has powerful radioactive energy. Once it leaves the laboratory specially designed for it, its energon will let nearby all the electronic devices are running away. There is also NBEO-1, and Sector 7 will fully test it every year. They suspect that once the temperature and air pressure change, the everyone from the alien group may lose control. Quote. However, they can no longer be allowed to mess around. This time Sector 7 also encountered a mechanical soldier invasion of a suspected alien creature, which undoubtedly gave Cheney a good reason to intervene. After thinking for a while, he ordered to Segesta, "Go, put these materials together and send them to Pentagon to Minister Keller. Let him arrange for an army to station in Sector 7 to ensure the safety of Sector 7. After paused, Cheney continued, "If there is public attention to this matter, it is announced that the FBI has received intelligence, and there are terrorists who have sneaked into the United States waiting for the opportunity to blow Hoover Dam." Yes, Segesta left soon and was ready to inform Pentagon and Secretary of Defense. Feeling that he was completely sleepless, Cheney sighed helplessly. These damn outer space creatures, how can they not settle down? Thinking of the 4 stolen nuclear warheads whose whereabouts are still unknown, and those robotic organisms who didn't know which corner of the vast territory of the United States of America, he felt his head hurt again. At 1 a.m., in the suburbs of Saguache County, southwestern Colorado, USA, there is a United States, Titan I, intercontinental ballistic missile underground launching silo that has been abandoned for many years. The long dusted manhole cover was suddenly opened, accompanied by a burst of turbid air with a trace of radioactive elements, and a mechanical soldier with a dark gray body jumped out from under the launching silo. Isn't it Sun Chang? Has it been night? Really not used to living in this place, it feels like a ground mouse. Although he knew that few people would come here, Sun Chang still looked at all around alertly, before he grumbled and complained. However, when he thought about what he was about to do, his face was suddenly full of smiles. Looking up at the sky, and after determining the position of the satellite with the high-hanging outer space, he jumped into the sky and turned into a Reaper drone, moving towards Colorado Springs City. It has been 5 days since the invasion of Sector 7 and evacuation. Although he has obtained accurate information about Allspark, he chose to hide it, not at all notifying Starscream or Onslaught. During these 5 days, Sun Chang had a very fulfilling life. He made a circle in the vast United States, and finally chose a nuclear silo on the outskirts of Saguache County, southwest of the state of Colorado, which was abandoned by the U.S. military for many years. Sun Chang is planning to turn this place into his own base like Onslaught and Starscream. After having sparked, Sun Cheng's speed has once again been amazingly improved, and his speed has now exceeded 900 kilometers per hour. Although there is a short distance from Saguache County to Colorado Springs City, but in his it is no different from walking. Sun Cheng had slowed down and was careful when the Colorado Springs City area was still dozens of kilometers away. There are many air defense-related military facilities near Colorado Springs, including Peterson Air Force Base, Schriever Air Force Base, North American Aerospace Defense Command, etc. Here, the air defense warning system is still perfect. Even Sun Cheng is not willing to easily go to United States Air Force anal wave. After entering the Colorado Springs City area through camouflage, Sun Cheng entered the old factory building on the outskirts of the city. After seeing several containers placed on the factory floor, his face can't help. Full of excited smiles. Reached, excitedly doing a backflip in the empty factory building, his eyes filled with pride. Since following with Onslaught and knowing that high-rank Decepticon mostly strengthens his battle strength by constantly strengthening his own mechanical body, he has the idea of building an advanced laboratory for himself in the future. Although, it is impossible to get advanced machines from planet Cybertron from Onslaught and Starscream. But Sun Cheng also not to be trifled with. By invading the United States banking system, he only spent 10 minutes to transfer a huge amount of 10,000 million United States dollars from 100 million dead accounts, and then passed after registering various shell companies on the internet and washing the funds. In the name of multiple shell companies, they purchased a large amount of advanced machinery, equipment and raw materials that they needed, and sent the logistics company to several large cities in the state of Colorado. Inside the factory building. Throughout the process, Sun Cheng contacted the agent through the internet. The design of each link was very rigorous. Even if one of the links went wrong, it would not affect other places. This factory located on the outskirts of Colorado Springs City is also one of his receiving locations. Here, a 5-axis CNC machine, a metal laser cutting machine and 2 diesel generators have completed the reception procedures. Of course, the recipient was also recruited from the internet. What Sun Cheng needs to do is to take these machines back at night, and then use Decepticon's special functions to upgrade and use it to study how to further strengthen his own mechanical body. Without sleep or rest for 10 days, Sun Cheng looked at the renewed underground nuclear silo, and a satisfying expression appeared in his eyes. After seeing the Sector 7 base of American, even he admired American a little. After all, he was able to dig a huge base among the hard rocks and cliffs 10 years ago. The ability of infrastructure projects is really not to be underestimated. After Dove occupying the Magpie Nest to take over the underground nuclear silo, Sun Cheng was more certain that United States also has terrifying engineering capabilities. The tunnel with a length of 5 kilometers and a total underground construction area of more than 60,000 square meters undoubtedly left him a lot of exhibition space. After rearranging the circuit and installing all the purchased machinery, Sun Cheng launched diesel generator. With the burst of low rumbling sound, the underground silo, which has been abandoned for nearly 40 years, finally lights up again. Redesigning a more powerful mechanical body for myself, honestly, this plan is very unsuccessful, or it is impossible to start. Although Spark possesses powerful computing power, Sun Cheng has absolutely no experience in machinery manufacturing, weapon design, etc., so that he has to sneak into several United States universities to get some teaching materials and get started from scratch learn. Compared to the progress in the design of mechanical body strengthening, Sun Cheng has made good achievements in other aspects, such as his microelectronics and even computer, and has recently used the powerful computing power of Spark to help him remember and rehearse. It has benefited him a lot. After being in this world for a month, Sun Cheng was very homesick. It's almost time to go back to the real world. In the heart estimated, if you remember correctly, the countdown on one of the light screens hidden in the mysterious spherical space hidden in the inside of yourself seems to be over. Although Sun Cheng has not yet understood what the countdown group represents, it is not difficult to guess what will happen once the countdown ends. It is only temporarily unclear, is there any change in the spherical space? Or is it simply the real world? Thoughts move, the exoskeleton armor of the Sun Cheng mechanical body's lower abdomen suddenly split open, revealing an iPhone 5 cell phone. After holding it in his hand and rubbing it lightly for a while, although still reluctant, he quickly put the cell phone in the corner of his laboratory. Instead looked towards an IBM server in front. Sun Cheng's eyes flashed a blue light. This new server launched by IBM Corporation of this world at the end of last year was the best enterprise server that he bought for more than $70. However, since the start of this server, with the vision of the future and Decepticons' ability, this enterprise server, which is known as the strongest in the next 5 years, is actually the same thing. Only 8 Xeon E31200V3, 216GB DDR3 memory sticks, 1TB hard drive are configured on the chip, which is probably okay for server optimization. As a result, the computer software and hardware skills increased greatly. Sun Cheng simply took it to practice. Not only did he start to replace 8 new Intel Xeon E52600 and 22GB DDR32 memory modules, he also connected the server system. I started to optimize myself. After completing these, Sun Cheng did not hesitate to consume dozens of energon and used Decepticon's strengthening function to perform a series of strengthening on it. After some hard work, he finally came up with an abnormal server, even if it is placed in real-world 2016, and the performance is enough to turn overwhelming majority of servers on the market. Sun Cheng is going to use it to do an experiment to verify a long-time conjecture that he himself can put himself in the side item and bring it to reality. This is very important. If the last time he brought the level 2 core from Starscream back to reality is not accidental, it will be of great significance to him mastering the ability to shuttle back and forth between two worlds. From the corner of the laboratory, he picked up a handbag full of diamonds and gold bricks and hugged him in his arms. Sun Cheng walked to the server and sat back on the ground against it. Just thinking about the mysterious spherical space hidden somewhere in his body, you felt a wave of faintly discernible soon. This is also the new ability that Sun Cheng acquired after the trip to Sector 7. After touching Allspark on that day to evolve his core into Spark, 2 days later he accidentally discovered that when he thought of the mysterious spherical space there, he could vaguely feel the existence of the other party. When Sun Cheng controlled his consciousness and tried to approach the wave of faintly discernible, he soon felt a sudden suction appear, and Sun Cheng felt the sky spins and the earth goes round before he could react. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly discovered that he had entered the sea blue color mysterious spherical space. Are you here again? He couldn't wait to return to reality. He also spent a lot of effort to calm down the excitement in his heart. After carefully looking into the spherical space, Sun Cheng soon noticed that there seemed to be some changes in this space. The spherical space seems to be bigger. Although the space originally exudes a faint sea blue color fluorescence, it looks very bleak, and now it is much brighter. Apart from this, the most obvious change is in the middle of the space. The original 2 light screens have now become 3. When the sight caught this change, Sun Cheng was slightly surprised. He quickly controlled his ghost-like body and immediately floated to the light screen on the far left representing real world. After it was lit, he quickly looked at it and found that it was still the previous scene. The image of sleeping in the school dormitory. This is long let out a long breath. Looking inadvertently at the lower left corner, he quickly exclaimed lightly. Sun Cheng remembers that there were originally 2 sets of numbers in the lower left corner of this light screen, one of which counted as blue star, and the other counted down as red star, but now there is only 1 set of blue star counts on the top. It became 2. He quickly controlled his body and floated to the light screen on the far right. After the screen was lit, he really saw the image of his mechanical body sitting with his handbag on his back, and then looked at the numbers in the lower left corner. Sun Cheng really saw the change. I saw that in addition to the data of white star and the 13 behind, the blue star and the following set of numbers should be missing. With some uneasiness and some anticipation, Sun Cheng silently floated to the newly appeared light screen in the center. The next second, the light screen lights up. But only at the bottom of the light screen, a set of text and data appeared. In unknown parallel world fusion, countdown 1 hour 47 minutes and 17 seconds. Unknown parallel world fusion. What does this mean? Because there is too little information available, Sun Cheng can only analyze it literally. Does this light screen also generate an unknown otherworld like Decepticon world? Seeing that there were less than 2 hours left to know what this new light screen meant, Sun Cheng simply waited in the spherical space. As time passes by little, until Sun Cheng's spirit begins to languish due to boring waiting, he finally sees the countdown on the newly appeared light screen in front of him. The next second, on the blank light screen above the text and data, a violent and gorgeous image suddenly appeared. A glass-like transparent light curtain separates the two huge two-color rays of light huge vortex, but the 7 huge two-color vortex still continuously rotates violently towards the transparent light curtain between the two. The meteor rain that whistled and flew across the sky intersected and collided, making a loud roar. A splendid brilliance erupted one after another. The two huge two-color vortex swirled quietly. They continued to pull and suck the transparent light curtain in the middle into the vortex. Gradually, the light curtain in the middle became thinner and thinner, and soon afterwards, it was completely disappeared. The next second, when there were no more barriers, two huge two-color vortex collided violently. There are torrent jets, colorful light 10,000 jong, two huge two-color vortex pull from each other fiercely, to blend quietly with each other, and finally blend into each other completely. Soon, when everything was calm again, Sun Cheng clearly saw the light screen change again. I saw that under the still image, two sets of text and data were refreshed again. Jurassic Park fusion complete. In an unknown parallel world fusion, the countdown 103,679, 59, 59. After carefully reading the images and text on the light screen, Sun Cheng still has some inexplicable eyes. Parallel world fusion. He tried to read more information from this newly appeared light screen, but the result was disappointing him. Even though Sun Cheng was very close to this light screen, he did not appear to be close to himself. Light screen when entering the selection. World fusion. Which two world fusions? Jurassic Park, what kind of world is it? After studying it for a while, still clueless, Sun Cheng had no choice but to give up. He came to the light screen on the far left without any hesitation. He immediately chose to enter the light screen, and he wanted to return to the real world impatient. Sunworld's journey to Otherworld is really long and thrilling for Sun Cheng. Within a month, he had stolen intelligence, invaded military base, infiltrated Sector 7, and Starscream, Soundwave battle of wits and bravery, not only saved his life, but also borrowed from the lowest Decepticon miscellaneous soldiers, Allspark the power ranks among the high-ranked Decepticon. From the discomfort of the initial murder, to the later indifference to the fragile life. From the frightened fear of deceiving Starscream and Soundwave for the first time, to the envy when later monopolizing Allspark information. Sun Cheng experienced a period of transformation that he could clearly feel himself. But it made him too tired. Now he just wants to sleep peacefully, fall asleep unscrupulously, dream unscrupulously. Shua. Suddenly, the rays of light of the water blue shone, accompanied by a strange illusion that the soul was pulled away in a short period of dizziness. Feeling the weight of the suffocation, his brain woke up suddenly. Subconsciously, he looked at his heavy objects. Sun Cheng quickly eyes shined, and he turned up. He saw a huge cabinet-like item exuding silver all over his body. At this time, he was pressing heavily on his body. Isn't it the IBM server that he spent a lot of effort on strengthening upgrade in Otherworld? Cough cough. He was crushed by a server weighing a few 100 kilograms, which was very uncomfortable for only a short while. After struggling to hold it up, Sun Cheng quickly pulled his body out from under the server and curled up in the corner of his bed before he gasped. Nandu University of Technology student dormitory is a common combination in bed and cabinet in domestic universities. The bed may be very sturdy, and even two people can completely eat it, but it is not easy to say that there is another server weighing 2 kilograms. He glanced out of the still dark window. After his eyes were used to the brightness of the bedroom, he stepped on the computer table below and got out of bed. Turn over the take-action flashlight from the drawer, use it to illuminate Sun Cheng to climb onto the bed again, straighten the server and open the cabinet. The Enterprise server originally designed by IBM Corporation is a standard tower server. However, when it was reconstructed and upgraded later, Sun Cheng used Decepticon's strengthening function to adjust it greatly. One of the most convenient changes is to make the components inside its cabinet like the rack and blade server. It can be easily separated and taken out so that he can upgrade the hardware in the real world. Apart from this arrangement also made some space inside the server, so Sun Cheng took the opportunity to do the second experiment. The cabinet was quickly opened, revealing many accessories inside the server. Holding a flashlight, Sun Cheng's sight not at all stayed a while on the hardware upgraded by strengthening ability that he used Decepticon in another world, but directly looked towards the lower right side of the server. The other accessories are completely different in a black plastic box. Quickly pulling the black plastic box out of the server, feeling the heavy weight of the box, Sun Cheng couldn't hide his excitement. He even left the server on the bed for a while, so he anxiously took the black plastic box off the bed, and then pulled the bench away and sat at the computer desk. Even his beloved laptop was rudely pushed aside. Just by the rays of light of the flashlight, Sun Cheng opened the black plastic box impatiently. The next second, when a yellow and black Taser X26 and another pitch-black Glock 17 pistol were revealed, the irritability and faint restlessness that had condensed on Sun Cheng's eyebrows finally disappeared completely. The expression returned to calm again. Sun Cheng sat quietly at the table, calmly picked up the Taser, and after fiddling with it for a moment, put it back into the box, and he picked up the one again in United States. The highest Glock 17 pistol, played with it carefully. Strength decides everything. This is the only truth he has learned in a brief relationship with Decepticons for more than a month. Without strength, he exhausted his efforts and thoughts, but in the eyes of others, it was still just a piece of chess that he used to sway. From Davis Monthan Air Force Base, S onslaught and barricade, S killings, to Tucson, S difficult situation chased by Americans like dogs, to Sector 7, S wanton behavior after promotion, all prove the simple and crude values of Decepticons. So, even though he knew that the real world was much safer, but he was too scared in another world, he was still fully prepared. Since God has given him an opportunity to make his own choice, Sun Cheng will never let himself be safe and let others decide. The strange touch brought by Glock 17's icy gun body continuously stimulated Sun Cheng's nerves along his fingertips, making him gradually calm down with excitement, as well as those drowsiness that were disappeared. Speaking of which, this time's attempt was really a big one. After playing for a while, Glock 17 was returned to the box, and it was solemnly received. Sun Cheng got up again and looked towards the heavy server on the bed. His eyes were bright. The last time he returned to real world, he brought back the level 2 core that Starscream gave him. Although very scared at the time, Sun Cheng did recognize its value and what that accident meant. Therefore, there is a careful experiment before this time returns. Before determining to return to reality, Sun Cheng not only prepared a bag of diamonds and gold worth nearly 10 million United States dollars, but also this equally valuable server and weapons hidden in the case. Then, I returned to the real world again. Although he failed to bring back the bag of valuable diamonds and gold, he felt quite sorry. However, another server that he also used for the experiment and the weapon hidden in it were brought back to reality, which caused Sun Cheng to quickly leave those regrets behind. An ecstasy was even harder to hold back, bursting into his heart. Although Sun Cheng has only tested once, there are still many uncertainties, such as whether it can only be brought back by electronic equipment, or whether it can be bidirectionally transmitted. But looking down towards his hands, Sun Cheng felt for the first time in his life so clearly that these hands have never been as powerful as they are today. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.